charts. Every number one for rated threat in the press. Ow! Every number one on the orange owl. Every number one for rated threat in the press. Every number one on the orange charts. Every number one for rated threat in the press. Ow! Every number one on the orange charts. Every number one for rated threat in the press. And every threat in the press. Wow! Yowza!
Hello, I'm Ben.
Hi, I am Tom.
And you're listening to Sunglasses at Night podcast. And the year is 2004.
It sure is. This is the podcast where we take a look back in time for our metaphorical Ray-Bans at a year in history via the lens of the Australian Recording Industry Association. ARIA charts, number ones, and this year it is the number ones for 2004.
What a year. What a great year.
Oh, look.
What was happening that people that are alive in 2004, I'm sure, look back on it fondly. I think that was a great year.
Sure.
But those that either weren't alive then or were, in some sort of drug psychosis due to sort of a hangover of the late 90s rave culture, whatever the case may be, and can't remember a lot about it. What was happening, Tom?
Well, let's see. Greece held the first Summer Olympics of the new millennium.
Ooh.
Women's wrestling was allowed for the first time, and I won't make jokes about that because I don't need your charity Olympics. In a less fun development, the biggest earthquake in 40 years created tsunami waves that swept across the coastlines of Sri Lanka, India, Bangladesh, the Maldives, Burma, Thailand, Malaysia and Indonesia. At least 300,000 people are confirmed to have died.
Yeah.
Inconveniencing the holiday plans of a bunch of white tourists who maybe should have used their subsequent staycations to take a stroll through the old Hall of Mirrors.
Tom, you say that, but in 2005, I went to Malaysia, and let's just say I got some of the cheapest flights imaginable.
This is a thing I've heard from several people that, you won't believe what Bali was like when all of the whole stuff had been washed away and it was a nice clean slate and no one was there.
Exactly.
Great deals on
I
Bintang shirts.
I didn't feel good about it, but I was living in Japan at the time, and they had some sort of crazy deal where it was just sort of, we'll fly you there and put you up in 5-star accommodation for probably the cost that it would usually pay to get, the bus from Launceston to Hobart on the Red Line. It was very, very affordable. So I thought, let's go. And it was nice to feel like you're making a difference by injecting some money into the local economy, because they didn't have as many tourists and there were a lot of people that were struggling. So much like now. So get to Indonesia right now. I think they probably need our help. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they've diversified their economy out of tourism and they're figuring out how to make things again. I don't know.
Sure. It's like all that pizza that I bought. All those pizza delivery drivers who had to bring my pizza to my possibly COVID-infested ass during increasingly large ass during lockdown. But I was putting money back into the struggling pizza businesses.
You were, absolutely.
Who certainly can't buy yachts after lockdown with all the money that they made off people like me.
No.
Anyway, what else happened? The CIA admitted that there was no imminent threat from weapons of mass destruction before the 2003 invasion. CBS uncovered evidence of presidentially sanctioned torture in Abu Ghraib prison. Yep. And George Bush won re-election, and Facebook was launched. It was a dark time. It was a dark time. On the plus side, Eric Clapton sold a guitar for $1 million and gave it to charity. Usher released his Confessions album, selling 1.1 million copies in its first week, making him the first R&B artist to ever accomplish that, and Creed broke up.
Oh, that's
it wasn't all bad.
No, absolutely, definitely. Look, it's interesting because I think, based off the news that you've just mentioned, tsunami, that's a word that probably entered the lexicon that a lot of people probably weren't banning around too much before.
True.
Waterboarding, I think. No, people weren't talking about that, were they? And then everyone was like, waterboarding.
Or where Guantanamo Bay was.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Nobody knew where Guantanamo Bay was, but they do now. They certainly do. And the Facebook poke, I guess, that was probably taking off around that time. I don't know. Who can remember?
Done a song about the Facebook poke. That was the Lance Bass's...
Facebook official, yeah.
Facebook official. An expression that I think existed for maybe 2 months in 2004 and no longer exists.
That's the thing. If you're a one-hit wonder, I mean, and this actually, it wasn't even a hit, so they're a no-hit wonder. But if you're a failed pop star and someone says, what songs did you release? And you can point to the YouTube video. when it's Facebook official, not only is it terrible and you didn't make it, but it's something that's dated so poorly that you just wouldn't tell anyone you're ever an artist.
No.
You would just be like, what did you do before working, at Woolworths? And you'd just be, oh, nothing. I just didn't do anything prior to this.
That's right. Look, just one thing before we start, one small erratum. I mean, look, if I started going over all the mistakes that I've made in the podcast from listening back, it would take a longer podcast than this for me to just fix all the errors. Obviously, people don't come here for factual information.
No.
Well, I certainly fucking hope not. But, there are some errors. Some are too important not to fix.
Of course,
and I picked up one from, I think it was 2002. Yes, I erroneously mentioned that the worst album title of all time is Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavoured Water.
It is, yeah.
By Linkin Park.
Yep.
But in fact, that's by Limp Bizkit.
Yep,
I should have said. I did actually know that. I don't know how I could possibly have done this, but I somehow confused Linkin Park with Limp Bizkit.
It happens. But I'm glad that you made that correction, because that's the sort of level of journalistic integrity that we have here on the podcast, where any errors that we make, we are quick to point them out and fix them up. Unlike some other podcasts out there that just seem to make up things or talk complete nonsense and then don't bother correcting, but we do correct those things. So,
and look, I'm not the biggest fan of Linkin Park in the whole world, but nobody deserves to be compared to Fred Durst and his album title.
No, exactly right. I mean,
except perhaps the band Chocolate Starfish and their own album Chocolate Starfish. They probably deserve to be compared to it, but other than that,
Yeah, look, I don't think that anyone would like to be compared. Sort of when you see those, the hype stickers on albums, and it's sort of like for fans of this or that. If you had a band and you went into the shop and your album was out and it had for fans of Limp Bizkit on the hype sticker, you'd just break up, wouldn't you? You would immediately just end the band, because no, you don't want that. You don't want to inflict that on other people. What's your band? For fans of Limp Bizkit. You'd feel like a fuckwit.
I look forward one day to seeing a Gen Z coming across a photograph, an image of Fred Durst on stage in front of 20,000 people, starting a concert by emerging out of a 100-foot tall toilet bowl, as though he was a huge piece of shit, while strobe lights thrown as he kicks off the start of a full concert set, and them being unable to realise that this is a real thing that happened. The band were not joking, like this is not Weird Al Yankovic doing a novelty song about turds or something, and just saying, no, look, it was a particular time, this guy was cool. Yeah. And he got very rich and everyone bought his albums. This was acceptable behaviour.
Exactly.
We all thought it was great.
Yeah, I kind of wish the band had stayed broken up, Tom, for two reasons. One, that they're terrible and we don't really need any music from them to come out ever again. But two, when Fred Durst isn't rapping, fronting Limp Bizkit as a rapper, he's a film director. And he's churned out one of the worst films of recent memory, The Fanatic.
I haven't actually seen it.
It's terrible. And I think that he could really if he kept going in that, he could really sort of enter that, Tommy Wiseau type real awful filmmaking. So, and I think that he needs to sort of go in that trajectory, down that path, I think. Because
so I kind of noticed we talked about this some time ago and mentioned The Fanatic, but I don't think you'd seen it at that time. So between then and now, you've seen. So what were your hopes for the film?
Well, I hope it would be terrible, and those were met. So,
did you hope it would be terrible in a different way than it was terrible?
Yeah, kind of. I sort of. The thing is, John Travolta's had more boom and bust cycles than Doc Martens, I think.
He sure has.
He's in vogue, he's out of vogue, he's back in vogue again, and now I'd say he's definitely out of vogue, because I don't know what people are casting him in. Yeah. That was woeful. I don't know if I've seen him in anything since.
I think he just needs to retire with his
Yeah, I think so. You got to go out on top, don't you?
Take
but you never
a couple
know.
of discreet holidays a year to Fire Island.
Yeah, but he keeps bouncing back, so maybe, he does something and he thinks, look who's talking now was not my finest suit. But after that, Tarantino let me do,
Yes.
you know, Pulp Fiction. So he's probably thinking, you know, Battlestar Galactica. No, sorry, Battlefield Earth wasn't great. So then other people let me do other things, and now he's probably thinking, I'm in a bit of a rut at the moment, but it's only a matter of time before, you know, Scorsese comes knocking.
He should just give it over and just do campy comedies. I reckon he's got good comedic timing when he wants to.
Yeah. I've seen Lookers talking one and two.
He likes being silly, you know, and he can't do a serious thing without a good director telling him what to do. Like, you know, it's just not going to work. He's not going to be doing Broken Arrow anymore, playing the bad guy in serious action films. He's got to just stick to Hairspray, Grease 4, the reboot, playing the janitor in the background or something like that. Or Hairspray, John Waters, musical, put on drag, dancing around. That's what he should stick to.
You're definitely right. So, look, I still think that when he hired out that, rural KFC for all the Scientologists that time, that was pretty cool. And, so he's obviously a good guy deep down. And I think that perhaps he should listen to your advice, Tom, and sort of just choose his future parts wisely.
Sorry, I'm not sure exactly how we got onto John Travolta's future career prospects.
It was linked back to your Fred Durst apology for the wrong Limp Bizkit thing, and then I decided to bring up the finale.
All right. Well, how about we talk about some music?
Sounds good. Absolutely. All right. 2004, first song of the year for another 2 weeks was the Black Eyed Peas' Shut Up. They were at 1 week at the end of last year, 2 weeks again. This year, we don't need to talk about this. We've already talked about that. So that's great. Nothing. No more Black Eyed Peas. No, fuck that.
No. I think it's all in the title.
We'll have to talk about them later. I don't know, this episode, but certainly in the future, probably several more times because they just keep churning out the hits. So up next, first new song of the year is Outkast, Hey Ya, with an exclamation mark. Wow. Hey Ya!
I am actually kind of surprised this is only 2 weeks because this was fucking everywhere for 2 years.
Well, that's what I was going to say, Tom. I mean, first things first, can I just get out of the way that old people complaining about Triple J being shit. We've talked about this briefly, I think, in the past. And this is just another one of those songs where number one pop song on the charts and also number two on the Triple J Hottest 100 of that year. Yep. So it sort of bridged the gap between the alternative and whatever. So,
and alternative.
Old people are like, back in my day, Triple J only played good music like the presidents of the United States of America and the Mavises. And now it's just all shit. Well, can't we go back to that? Old people, stop whining. I think Triple J's always just played pop music and, some bullshit alt rock stuff that a lot of it was fucking garbage anyway. So, anyway, there you go.
I was, at this point in time, doing a fair bit of spending time in pubs and buying, going out clothes and that sort of thing.
Yep.
And in bars, nightclubs, and clothing shops, especially the cooler kind, that was just fucking just on a loop. Not just that, but this whole album. What's it called?
Speakerbox / The Love Below.
Yeah, both sides of it. They were both doing. It was just fucking everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Look,
and rightly so. It's a fucking great album. Not only is it a great album, but it's incredibly inventive. It really is. It's like two weird albums put together, and they're both unusual. Even Big Boy's the more conventional of the two, and he was doing all sorts of weird shit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
inventive, interesting hip hop.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this. As we should point out, Speakerbox and Love Below was basically just two solo albums, but sort of put together under the guise of Outkast. So this song was an Andre 3000 song, and then as you said, Big Boy. I think the single that he released was "I Like the Way She Moves," and that was another hit. Didn't make it to number one, but another big hit. So, but as you said, what I was looking at when I first saw this song, I was just going to say that I never need to hear it again, only because I heard it probably 8,000 times in a calendar year when it came out. Because it was absolutely everywhere. Very, very catchy, sort of a throwback song, different sound from Outkast. Apparently, I read that Andre 3000, because this was part of his solo album bit, he'd only just learnt to play the guitar, So
okay.
This is apparently one of the first things he wrote, and then just put it together and made the song. So, which is pretty cool.
It is. Like you say. I mean, not only is it catchy, it's sort of weirdly simple in some ways, but it's quite. I mean, you have to admit as well, this is one of the weirdest fucking non-novelty songs to hit number one since like The Real Thing by Faith No More that we've covered. It really is quite strange. I mean, it's not even really hip-hop.
No, it's not.
Really.
No.
It's sort of, I don't know what to call it, really. It's
like a throwback sort of pop song from like a different era, I think. But sort of he kind of puts a different vocal take on it.
Yeah, with hip hop elements and strange. Yeah, the instrumentation is odd. Yeah, it really is a weird one.
And it's weird because it has the chorus, which is like pretty catchy, but then the shake it like a Polaroid picture part is sort of, people still say that to these days, don't they?
It's
strange.
I believe. So. And the structure of, I'll talk about that later, but it's sort of, it's kind of split into two halves, the song itself. It's got lots of different parts, but it sort of has the two. Yeah, it's very odd.
I did read that Polaroid had to come out afterwards and say you're not meant to shake them because it doesn't. You know that how it's sort of, everyone thinks you shake that Polaroid.
They do
to make
it in
develop.
movies. They always do it,
but you're not meant to. So
okay.
they had to come out and say you don't shake it. And then they asked Andre 3000 where he got the lyric from, and he was just like, I don't know, sometimes things just pop into your head and you just say them and you don't really, it makes any sense. So that's pretty cool.
And it's not only that, but it's a retro reference, which suits the whole retro vibe of the song.
Exactly. So look, we haven't talked about Outkast before because I haven't had any other number ones, and this is unfortunately the last one. So I guess we should, if you don't know much about Outkast, I guess they sort of broke up or went on hiatus a few years ago. So Andre
I think
3000,
they went their separate ways.
Yeah, I mean, they're still doing solo stuff. I don't know if Andre 3000 still is he doing any acting? I saw him in a Will Ferrell film once. I don't really know what's going on. But I guess back in the mid-90s, it was still sort of, hip-hop was East Coast or West Coast, and there was still the rivalry of that. So I guess Outkast, probably credited as one of the first groups from the South to really get Southern hip-hop on the map. Because in 1995, they won the Best New Group at the Source Awards, which is the Source magazine, which is a big hip-hop magazine. And when sort of Outkast went up to get the award, Andre 3000 was booed because the people were like, boo, this isn't from the East Coast, boo, this isn't the West Coast. So he just said, the South's got something to say. And everyone went, boo. And then now Atlanta, which is where Outkast are from, they're just as big as East Coast and West Coast.
And like Crunk, that was from the South, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Trap is from Atlanta. So in 2009,
what's the one with the one with the Izzle one? The one with where you have to be on cough syrup to listen to it.
I'm sure it's from the South as well, no doubt. But apparently in 2009, Atlanta was declared the hip-hop centre of gravity by the New York Times. And those guys know hip-hop, don't they? When I think hip-hop, I think New York Times.
The Donald Glover TV show Atlanta is probably also cemented in a lot of white people's minds as well, like me. Oh, okay.
Correct, yeah. So Atlanta is now in 2020 massive for hip-hop. But yeah, probably even, 25 years ago, people were still like, what? No, it has to be from New York or it has to be from LA. So, look, a lot of people do credit Outkast as starting the Atlanta hip-hop scene, but people are really quick to forget, Tom, what became before them, such as Arrested Development. Remember Mr. Wendell?
Sure do.
Mr. Wendell, yeah. They were from there. Tag Team, Womp, there it is. They were from Atlanta.
Sure.
Is that really hip hop? Oh, there it is. It's good enough for me.
It is for me.
And of course, Chris Cross, who paved the way for Outkast, despite being several years younger than them. So, look, when people think Atlanta hip hop, a lot of people sort of think, as you've said, from the TV show Atlanta, they might think of Little Yachty or something like that. But I think of Warm It Up, Chris. That's what I certainly think about. I don't really care for anyone else.
Two twins with their pants on backwards.
Two twins. Yep, that's right. So, anyway, I guess that's the Outkast story, briefly. But, and look, they sort of did hedge their bets a little bit with this release because, it was just effectively two solo albums marketed under the heading of Outkast.
It's not a bad idea, though, really. You get to keep... I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often.
You
Like-
can do
keep-
something different. So you get to diversify your
Yes.
sound and do something that you wouldn't necessarily do as
You
Outkast.
save money on studio time, and you can be on each other's tracks, and then you still get the name recognition of your actual
Correct.
name. So just in case you change your mind later, you don't have to officially break up.
Yeah.
And it shows that you don't hate each other too. Like, you know, it shows that there's no animosity.
Yeah, and for new fans, you're attracting new people in, and for the diehards, are like, oh, they've changed their sound,
Yeah.
and so, well, this is just
Yeah,
just
or just
experimenting
listen
with
to.
solo
I mean, if you
stuff.
don't like one, you've still got one whole album that you do like.
Yeah, exactly
You know?
right.
I mean, I
Exactly.
think as we've covered, Axl Rose demonstrated well early on that why put out one album when you can put out two albums
Exactly.
and get one album's worth of material stretched across two with a lot of filler in between.
if you
know?
if you got
Although
14 songs,
they
you can
made the
figure out
mistake
this
of
out.
only charging for one.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. Nelly, with sweat and suit, he knew what was up.
Yes,
He
that's
followed
right,
in the
he's
Axl
figured it
Rose sort of thing. But yeah, you're absolutely right. So it's a trap for young players, and perhaps if they were wiser, the Outkast, they would have just released them as two separate albums. But they
Yeah.
would have had half as many good songs on there. That's what they needed to do, keep some the top tier material for another
Yeah.
album, and then just put a lot of filler in there. But yeah.
Look, a clue to the reasoning behind this experiment, another one, might be that at this point in their careers, Big Boy seemed to be more into busting out huge fun raps on Chappelle's show,
Yep.
while Andre 3000 seemed to be more into dressing like a lawn jockey and singing about how roses really smell like doo-doo. So clearly they were heading in different directions.
Yeah.
Although I think Andre 3000 was heading in a perpendicular direction to everyone else on the planet. I don't know where he
Definitely. But
I think he did appear on the Chappelle show, not himself, but he was portrayed as levitating down from the ceiling with a Mary Poppins umbrella. And Puff Daddy says, "That's right, he can fly. He believes in himself." So, yeah, I mean, there's a level of respect that comes with also thinking that someone's a weirdo, but sure.
Oh, exactly. But I think sometimes you need those creative weirdos, otherwise you
fuck
just end
yeah.
up with the same
Yeah,
shitty music
totally.
all over again. And look, I think he was designing his own clothes at this stage and doing all kinds of, well, not that that's
That would
wacky, but
explain a lot.
sort
He
of.
was certainly designing his own haircut too.
Yeah, exactly right. So, as we mentioned before, this song, Hey Ya, was from the Andre 3000 half of Speakerbox and Love Below, and the video for this song features a band playing the song, but Andre 3000 is just playing all the roles.
Yes, yeah.
So it's not. So Big Boy is nowhere to be seen. It's just Andre 3000. There's 8 members of the band, and he had to film, apparently, when they made the video clip, each one 3 times from different angles and put it together.
Oh, to
so he
get
sort of had to
coverage,
do
yeah.
it 24 times, and they cut it all together to make the video clip. Now, look, I'm sure a high school student could do the same thing these days on their iPhone in an afternoon, but back then I'm sure it took about 18 weeks to
Oh,
complete.
hell yeah.
Much like that AHA video when they sort of had to hand draw that. They rotoscoped it. It took 6 years or something. And people are like, that's so creative. Andre 3000 playing all the bits. He's like on a TV show, sort of like a variety show. He's playing all the characters. How creative that? That's the most creative thing I've seen. Super creative. Andre 3000 is very, very creative. I love the creativity of that. But people are fast to forget Phil Collins in his video for 2 Hearts did exactly the same fucking thing. It was Phil. He was on a variety show. He was doing the drums, he was doing the vocals, he was doing the bass, he was doing the guitar. But Phil went one step further. He also played the editor behind the scenes, editing the video together. So Phil did all of that stuff. Andre 3000, I'm sorry, bro, but you've just ripped off the Hey Ya video clip from the king of pop. And I mean the actual legitimate king of pop, not Michael Jackson. I'm talking about Phil Collins himself.
Yeah. Brian Barber directed the music video, and it won Video of the Year honours in 2004 at the BET Awards, the Soul Train Music Awards, and the MTV Video Music Awards. But yeah, personally, I think the whole pretending you're on the Ed Sullivan Show thing was cooler when Nirvana did it in 1991 as well. But then again, I'm not a musical genius, so I don't even have a number in my name.
No, look, imitations
what would I know?
But sincerest form of flattery.
I don't
but
think I've ever seen that Phil Collins video.
Oh, it's just the Hey Ya video clip, except with Phil Collins in all the roles. So
I must be thinking of a different song. I
Yep.
thought 2 Hearts was the one where he's just sitting in a room full of smoke looking at old film or something.
no, so it's Phil Collins, the director guy is in a room watching film, but the film he's watching is a band performed on a Ed Sullivan style show.
Okay.
And it's Phil Collins playing all the people.
So it wasn't even original when
It
Nirvana
wasn't.
did it.
No, exactly. So look, it's great that Andre 3000 won all of those awards for plagiarism, but the reality is Phil did it first. So
And Brian Barber needs to take a look at himself too.
absolutely right. So look, I don't know. Go watch the Phil one, go watch the Hey Ya, and you be the judge. Which one's better?
I like In Bloom. That's better.
Oh, that one's good as well, absolutely. That one was in black and white, so it was...
Yes,
it was
the In Bloom one looks
classier.
exactly like the Ed Sullivan show, and it works because the Nirvana contrasts with the innocent-looking style of those bands, like that. Whereas this one just sounds vaguely like something that would have been played on Ed Sullivan. So it doesn't even really work anyway.
And the Nirvana one's a little bit more like a fever dream as well, because they edit in the bits of them when they're wearing their regular clothes and like
Yes.
trashing the thing. So it sort of cuts between. It's sort of like, is this real? Am I hallucinating this? You know what I mean? So it sort of has that thing as well. If you're on crack, it might look crazy, but if you're not, it's probably just looks super normal. So yeah, Hey Ya became the first song in history to rack up 1 million downloads.
Wow.
So first song to achieve platinum
It
status.
also
as a download.
shows that downloading is A, being measured by this stage, and B, is really just taking off as the next.
Yeah, absolutely. I probably should have pointed out at some episode prior to this that because we've really been speaking historically at the very start. We were talking about 7 inches, and we moved on to singles, CD singles, but now we're very much in the CD sales. Reached their peak in like 2001 or 2, I think it was. So CD sales are starting to die down now, and the downloads are coming along.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that was pretty interesting. First time to do that because iTunes was starting to take off. I think.
I mentioned that. I think that was that? Yeah, 2002. I think that was the start of iTunes.
Yeah, when
so
it was
it's only
launched,
been around for a couple of years.
Yeah, I think it was originally iTunes was only Mac only. I think at the very start, like I remember that first generation iPod was only compatible with a Mac, and then by now I think you were probably able to use Windows, etc. So everyone was able to jump on, download the Hey Ya. I don't know why you would, because you just walk into any fucking shop or anything and you'd be able to listen to it. You could listen to it on demand just by being outside, I think. So
the question is, this is the part that I'm confused with now.
Yep.
At this point, those 1 million downloads would have been paid downloads.
Oh, yeah.
But when they're talking about it now, I have no idea what constitutes a download in terms of... They only talk about sales, or does Spotify qualify? So now you have sales, downloads, and listens.
Yep.
As well, so there's like 3 separate things. Whereas,
I don't know what
if I'm
Ari's
checking
done.
figures, I try to look for actual sales, but even then, like, you know.
Well, these days they do that sales equivalent thing where if something's been streamed like 1,500 times, they say that's the equivalent of like one sale or something like that. So it gets really complicated where people are like saying, oh, it's gone platinum because it has 1 million sale equivalent units, but it might have sold 2 downloads, and then the rest is just all through Spotify playlist downloads, streams. So it is completely bizarre. So in terms of high sales figures these days, who knows? We might have to do some research. I can't be bothered. So,
Anyway, I was going to ask what your favourite song with an exclamation mark in the title was, because this has one. But then I realised that A, that's a really boring question, and B, it would obviously be man, exclamation mark, I feel like a woman, exclamation
mark would be.
But there's actually shitloads of them. There's way, way more than I thought. So, it becomes quite difficult anyway. But
it's definitely that Shania one has 2, as you said.
That's right. It's hard to beat that.
Yeah,
this
the
only has 1.
Quantity of exclamation marks is more of a sign of quality, I think.
Sure.
So, absolutely. This has all kinds of lyrical highlights, I assume.
It does. I think most people know most of the words to this, even though they are quite weird. But I always like it when he says, now I want to see you all on your baddest behaviour. Lend me some sugar. I am your neighbour. Like maybe you told him that you weren't his neighbour and you'd never seen him before, and he wasn't angry yet, but he really did want that cup of sugar. He's got like a flan on the go, and it's getting quite urgent that he start mixing it. This song is actually a little bit deeper than it sounds, I think. The first half is really about his parents' generation, or that's what he talked about in interviews, and people who stick together in relationships that are unhappy despite knowing that they aren't going to end well because either they're delusional, they think they can make it work, or because it's what society expects them that they should stay together.
Yep.
And then after half a song of that, he basically said, he literally says, although you can't hear it very well because it's under the sort of one of the bridge parts, but he just says, you don't want to hear this, you just want to dance. And then the next half of the song, it's just about everybody get on the dance floor, shake it like a Polaroid picture, which is quite fun. So, yeah, he gets to sort of have it both ways.
Lyrically, it's a song of two halves, and I like that neither part really... but people didn't seem to care. They were just sort of it has a narrative, and then it sort of stops, and it's just...
And you can play it in a nightclub because you've got the first part, but by the time people are going, this is a bit boring, then everyone's on the dance floor shaking it like a Polaroid picture.
Exactly right. Exactly. So,
and it's also got that do you know what to do bit in as well, so people can sort of sing along weirdly.
And he does say, I am your neighbour. People can sing along to that as well. Kind of like, at Love Shack when people are like,
yeah,
tin roof.
Nobody knows what it says. Everybody sings along anyway.
Exactly right.
Sure.
So look, that's good. You can buy that for 55 cents on Discogs.
Ah, okay.
And Outcast, despite being on a hiatus or broken up for several years, still have 15.7 million listeners on Spotify.
I mean, they were big. They were.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is their first number one, but the album before this, everyone probably also can remember, I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Woo!
Yeah, totally. I was looking at I had the Tomb Raider soundtrack. So that film was like 2000 or something. And that's got an Outkast song on it, which is this really weird sort of, it's kind of like a hip-hop, high-speed, angry dance song.
Okay.
And I didn't even know who they were back then.
Yeah.
I only noticed it because I was flicking through some old things. Yeah. Anyway.
They're everywhere.
They're everywhere. Those Outcasts.
Cool. All right, moving on. Speaking of musically and lyric innovators, Shannon Knoll, What About Me? For 4 weeks.
Sorry. Oh no, the alarm's going off.
It's the Axel, give me some...
That's Axel demanding that we point out that this person is from reality TV.
Yeah, Shannon, so he's back.
Idol contestant.
Australian Idol runner-up from whenever the fuck it was. Shannon Knoll's back with What About Me? Now, the cover's always better than the original, Tom, and this is no exception. Moving Pictures have a lot to thank Shannon Knoll for. I mean, has anyone ever heard of Moving Pictures? Do you know who Moving Pictures are?
Not this century. I have heard of them, but yeah.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, Moving Pictures, they originally wrote and recorded this song, but Shannon introduced the music of Moving Pictures to a whole new audience while bringing a new level of emotion to this material, I think. I mean, the original song, I think it's sort of about a boy... on the autism spectrum that isn't able to, really, I guess, associate with people as he'd like to. So I believe one of the members of Moving Pictures wrote this song about sort of his experience of seeing this in real life and sort of realising that, sometimes people seem to get left out. And so here was this song about that, What About Me, It Isn't Fair, etc. So quite an emotional song, but Shannon has brought a whole new level of emotion to it. The sort of emotion that you might expect from a suburban cover band on industry night performing during happy hour with 2-for-1 bourbon and cokes. It's sort of the emotion that spills out. That's what I picture when I hear this song.
Shannon brings that vibe to all of his performances.
About me? Yeah,
He's
exactly.
definitely the... pop star equivalent of a swap shop second-hand Jack Daniels T-shirt. If you could put one of them in human form, that's Shannon Knoll.
Yeah.
The original, as you said, that was a number one in 1982 and made it to 29 in the US. I always thought it was dorky as hell, but at least it got to number one without 6 months of TV bullshit telling people to buy it.
Yep.
Back then, all they had were window posters in the 7EX record bar.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to listen to a couple of other songs off that Moving Pictures album, and I was surprised at how, they were just a Sydney band, but they must have got to the point where they could get some serious production because they just sound like Billy Joel album tracks or something. Like they're really well produced and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, look, I think that they probably had a bit of a following at that time, and if they had this song that reached the American charts.
Yeah.
You know, even if it was in the 20s, that's a pretty big deal, I think, for Australian artists back
Yeah.
then. So, look, the guy that co-wrote this song went on to be a founding member of 1927, one of the finest Australian bands of all time. So, as I've said, Tom, a man who's tired of ish is a man who's tired of life. It is a great band. If I could paint, I'd paint a portrait of you. Great song.
They had 2 other hits as well.
Yeah, Compulsory Hero.
Compulsory Hero.
and-
They had... Damn it, I looked them up and now I've...
You never know which choice to take.
Yeah.
So that one as well.
And
so
another one. There was
yeah,
one more.
look, you know, I can pull my copy out, Tom, if you want to have a look, and we can see the tables in the way.
I had a look
but,
to see if I'd imagined his mullet, but I hadn't.
Yeah,
But, you know, by the standards of 80s mullets, you know,
absolutely.
it wasn't the worst.
That's when I think of you. That's when I think. If I could
yes.
paint Compulsory Hero. Oh, and who can ever
Wow.
forget Propaganda Machine? I can,
Sure.
so,
I like
definitely.
that they've chosen to go with the papyrus font as well. You didn't see that a lot back then, but
No.
clearly they were forerunners of...
How would you describe the album art? Is that sort of...
I would describe it as late 80s typography, pre-Photoshop experimental typography. It was a good time to be a designer because you get away with not doing all that much work, but...
Yeah, it's a canvas where someone's just thrown a paintbrush across it in a haphazard fashion and then just put a few...
stuck some typographical symbols over the top. Then again, you have to admit, I'll credit to the designer, they've given him the clue, what's your album called? It's called ... ish.
Yeah.
So what do you do with that? And I said, oh, is that a design? Well, it's a design-ish.
Exactly.
Now, can you give me 10 grand-ish, please, for that?
Yeah, look, I'm not sure if it is an iconic album cover and it will be turned into a puzzle, Tom. I don't really know
I've
whether
seen
that'll
worse.
happen, but
Don't
yeah,
worry.
definitely, for sure. Several years ago, I was trying to get myself a 1927-ish t-shirt. Very hard to come across.
Sure. They had 3 whole hits. That's 3 more than most Idol contestants.
Oh, absolutely right.
Guitarist and keyboardist Gary Frost left Moving Pictures after their second album, Matinee. In 87, he was watching Nine Network's variety series, Hey Hey It's Saturday's talent segment, Red Faces.
Good.
When Eric Wiedemann appeared and performed a cover of the Police's hit single, Roxanne.
Yep.
Gary drove from Sydney to Melbourne, that's about 880 kilometres, 550 miles,
Nice.
to recruit Wiedemann on vocals, guitar, keyboards, and Bill Hicks mullet. With a pedigree like that, it's no wonder they had 3 hits. That's what I'll say. I mean, what's the farthest you ever drove off the back of a Hey Hey It's Saturday segment?
Probably to the service station to get an ice cream to get home in time for Pluck a Duck, I think, Tom, probably.
I do remember after one of Daryl's celebrity impressions, I drove 90 minutes to a methadone clinic. I was on heroin. I just really needed some methadone after seeing him going the plane, with some shoes sticky taped to his knees. So, yeah. Anyway, that's enough about bands I actually like. Let's get back to Shannon.
Well, interestingly, I think with that 1927 thing, imagine he'd taken the usual Hey Hey It's Saturday Red Faces route and gone blackface. Maybe the group would never have been formed if he'd just...
Sure. Or they could have
luckily-
been even bigger. It was 1982 after all.
Exactly. So it's good to know that 1927, something good did come of Red Faces, and that was that.
Yeah, I mean, people probably remember 1927 better than they remember moving pictures these days. So,
Oh, definitely. Certainly right. Look, so I'd say, yeah, going back to Shannon, by this stage of his career, Shannon seemed to be performing with all the desperation of a man trying to stay relevant to patrons of RSL and surf life-saving clubs. Sort of, I think that was sort of, he realised that once the gloss and the sheen of being a runner-up in Australian Idol is over, you need to sort of find your niche, and his niche seemed to be sort of just old people at sort of regional centres, I think.
Anywhere that the premix cans are kept cold and, you know, the Nova
Correct.
FM signs are fluttering in the breeze, you know, like... Give him credit, he kept it going longer than most of them do.
He kept it going a lot long. I think as a talent to longevity ratio, he kept it going. He was sort of travelling at the speed of light to sort of keep that on the plane, I guess, because
It was like he'd already figured that he was going to be dad rock, so his best chance was to cover dad rock and appear at events where people who liked dad rock might show up, which seems to have worked.
Yeah.
You know, he still gets interviewed on bloody radio stations today, despite no one really giving a toss.
No, for sure, because as you said, as the years pass, there's more idle contestants, so there's just more people out there, so your relevance, I guess, falls off a cliff a bit because people only really want to know about who the newest person is. So
he aimed low and he hit the mark, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. Look, and the thing about Shannon was that he made people believe that, that could be me up there, because it literally could be you as long as you could deliver a performance, of the caliber of, say, a high school cover band or 2021 Vince Neil. That's sort of, if you can sing to that level of quality, perhaps you could go on Idol and you could be a winner by just going, what about me? Maybe that could be you. So
yeah. He should have had some vocal training, because if you hear him now, it hasn't got improved over time. Anyway.
Look, I sort of enjoyed, obviously, this is a big song for him, went straight to number one. But the follow-up single, Drive, was also a great one. Crikey. If you can remember the sublime lyrical content of I've got a car, I've got a big black shiny car, maybe tonight we can go for a ride. Very, very good song. I think that's a metaphor for something. I'm not sure what. I don't think he's just talking about driving a car. Maybe it is. Now, that song was written by a friend of the podcast, Bryan Adams, if you can believe it.
I can believe it.
The song is indeed shit. So shit that Bryan wouldn't perform it in any capacity. But he'd done the work, and you don't just discard it. You obviously want to monetize the work that you've done. So he was fortunate that he was able to offload this to Shannon Noll. So
wow, yes.
I guess
too shit for Bryan Adams would be an excellent 5-word review of that song, sure.
Yeah. But Shannon Noll was one to operate under the mantra of one man's trash is another man's treasure. So despite the fact that Bryan wants nothing to do with it, doesn't mean that, Shannon won't. So.
I like to imagine that even Bryan Adams was slightly surprised when he got that phone call. Said, oh, you want to license one of my songs? Sure. Which one?
I've got a car.
Did I write a song? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Do you think Bryan might have been on a lot of drugs at this stage and just sort of pumped them out?
It's quite possible. Maybe he had a big black shiny joint when he came up with it.
Yeah. Look, someone we're going to have to talk about in the future, not for maybe 10 or so episodes, but Ed Sheeran. He's going to pop up at some stage. He's a man that is highly prolific as well, and I do remember...
much like Bryan Adams.
But I do remember once a song of his... another artist had recorded it and got, because I think he records a lot of songs and gives them away or whatever. And one of his songs went to number one, and someone asked him about it, and he was like, I literally cannot remember writing this song. Yeah. So when you're churning out a heap of songs, generally similar-ish types of shit, and then other people are recording them, you might just forget that they exist.
Back in the day, that used to be because of drugs.
Yeah.
Like famously, at one party, Joe Perry from Aerosmith went up to Steven Tyler and said, this song's great, we should cover this song. And he said, this is one of our songs. But, they could blame Speedballs for that. These cunts don't even seem like they're interesting enough to, would you want to get high with fucking Ed Sheeran and Bryan Adams?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not.
Like smoking weed in a giant vanilla ice cream.
Yeah,
with all the sugar taken out of it. Low-fat aspartame vanilla ice cream. All right.
So this is a cover. Any lyrical highlights?
Well, this is a weird one, isn't it? It's a strange song topic.
Yeah.
On the one hand, they're expressing a universal human frustration that we all have some days, that the world is against us, that we're being pushed around and knocked to the ground, that it isn't fair, that we've had enough, now we want our share, which is a really bad piece of grammar because it's oxymoronic in the same line.
Yeah.
So I've had enough, now I want my share. But yeah, grammar wasn't their strong point. See me after class, moving pictures. Also, everybody likes the idea that they're the underdog too, even when they obviously aren't, to the extent that they will lose their shit if anybody points out that they aren't. But yeah, so points for doing something original. On the other hand, the grammar still sucks balls, and the two examples that they use to illustrate their thesis are just really weird. So there's a little kid who wants to get served to the shop. Everyone barges in front of him and he gets annoyed because he's not getting served. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's a metaphor, so fine, right? We get it.
Yeah.
But what is the metaphor of? Like, being left out of society? Is it being poor? Being a dwarf? Not able to reach the counter in the shop? And what is the metaphorical bag of mixed lollies that he's waiting to buy in this metaphor? Is it infrastructure, sex, communism? I mean, later on he says the message is that the little people make the big people big. Thanks, Trotsky. But who do you think the audience for this song is? Rupert Murdoch? Like, saying, take a step back and see the little people. So the singer's defining himself as not the little people.
Yeah.
So in his imagination, he isn't one of the little people. So who are the little people? Does he mean physically little people?
Yeah.
Like children, babies, cats, dwarves?
Oh, look, Tom, it's very confusing. I don't know. And I think in the wrong hands, this song could sound quite shit, but thankfully Shannon comes along and gives it sort of the meaning that it needs.
So it's an unusual topic for a song. And I think what they've accidentally done, perhaps, by being not very good at expressing themselves in the specific, is effectively expressing the innate human angst around the idea that we all deserve something better for no real reason, and that we're all unique individuals despite all evidence to the contrary.
Yeah.
So credit to them for accidentally doing that. What Shannon Knoll realised that this would sound better through a flavour saver. So,
absolutely.
They both brought something to the party. Everybody else brought the song. He brought the 2 square millimetres of chin hair and added that to the party.
But in sort of an art imitating life, imitating art type scenario, do you think that Shannon, through singing this, has somehow injected himself into in a meta type sense that he's singing What About Me, but not as a character, as himself? What About Me isn't fair. Shannon, it's coming not from the character, it's coming from Shannon, singing it wholeheartedly. But he is the song now. Moving Pictures may have written this about Shannon Knoll.
But then that would indicate that Shannon thinks he deserves something more than he's got. So what does he think that he deserves?
Well, he should be.
Like the number 2 spot at the Summer Nats end of show closing gig.
I think that Shannon...
Goldie.
Well, Shannon probably...
Because I think he's got that. I'm pretty sure he's got that.
I think he saw himself more as sort of a maybe not Michael Hutchins, a JD Fortune type character, Tom. Maybe someone that could be a lead singer of a successful band after the actual singer has died, because he's never going to front a successful band off the back of his own work.
Yeah.
But I think he probably thinks maybe I could slot in there and perhaps, if the time was right, he could be
the next JD Fortune.
Exactly. Yeah. Hopefully Jimmy Barnes never dies. Maybe he's already dead and it's just been a hologram performing for years. But I think Shannon Knoll probably thinks I could be the new singer of Cold Chisel, or I could be the new singer of INXS.
Provided there was a reality show involved that I could go on.
Oh, of course, yeah. You don't just choose someone to fill in the spot of a deceased singer. You need to run it via a committee of the general public who are the best.
You don't look for a band or write some songs or,
Yeah.
You keep playing Summer Nats, going on Nova FM once a week and waiting until Who Wants to Be the Next Singer of Culture Club reality show comes to Australia.
Exactly. Now, if you've ever sort of been spending time with your friends and it comes up and it's election night in Australia and the party that you want to win or you think's going to win doesn't win and a different political party comes in and you're just like, how does this happen? I've spoken to all my friends. We all sort of hang out together and we all just assumed that it was going to go this way and it didn't go this way. Just remember, the Australian public decided that Shannon Knoll was the second best performer in a singing contest 20 years ago, and most of those people are probably still alive today.
Yes, and
so they're voting.
Are still willing to pay to see him perform 1982 covers of moving pictures song.
The second best in Australia in a singing contest was this guy.
Yes.
So next time you go, who's voting for these people?
There are maybe a dozen other songs this year that would also help explain Scott Morrison's continuing popularity. So let's move on. Not to pick anyone in particular.
Okay, Guy Sebastian. All I Need Is You.
Yep. Oh no, it's Axel again. Yes. Axel is pointing out that Guy Sebastian is another reality TV show alumni. He was the one who took the crown for Shannon Knoll.
He took the crown, and what a heavy crown it is, Tom. But
heavy is the head.
I should point out, sorry, quickly, that Shannon, that costs $1, the What About Me single on Discogs. That's quite a lot. And he's got 250,000 listeners on Spotify.
I think they only pressed it on brown CDs,
I think so.
and they disintegrate much quicker, especially if they get wet.
So I just wanted to say that. Look, yeah, this is Guy. Look, so remember we talked last week about him winning Idol, releasing his first single, Angels Brought Me Here, which went straight to number one. The song, it sounded like it was produced by sort of an off-brand Stock Aitken and Waterman. Like it had that production sound that literally like they'd used the demo track on a Yamaha Porter Sound keyboard and just got Guy to sing over the top. Now, this is better than Angels Brought Me Here. I'm going to say, I want to go on the record as saying this is better than Angels Brought Me Here. But in much the same way as dying in a spearfishing mishap is better than a drug-resistant, flesh-eating bacteria killing you slowly. I think better... But not great.
It's a fine line.
No one wants to cop a spear to the heart when your mate Jacko is just fucking around after too many bourbon and cokes and going, oh, let's shoot that fish, and then you die. And then, your wife doesn't have a partner anymore and your kids don't have a father. Not ideal, but flesh, drug-resistant flesh-eating bacteria, that's got to be a hard way to go.
That's true. It's the real Shannon Knoll of ways to go.
Absolutely.
It's definitely produced better, although that's not very hard either. As you said, the other one sounds like it was produced...
Faint praise time.
In the background on the set of a reality TV show like Russell Crowe recording a 30-odd foot of grunt using a Sony Handycam during outtakes of the virtuosity.
It sounded like they were going live with Guy to do the song.
Yes.
And they were like, we've lost the backing track.
Popping a cassette tape on this old 4-track we found around the corner.
Exactly. Can you just freestyle over this? Yeah. So anyway... look, Guy points out in this track that all he needs in his life is his love interest.
Yes.
All I need is you. And that's all good and well, but how happy will you be, honestly, without any gainful employment, money, residence to live in, food, clothes? I imagine at some point Guy would realise that perhaps he does need more than just love.
I call this the Bob Marley, Is This Love? I think it's that song. Is that... No, what's the one where he says, in my single bed, whatever that song is. The whole song, there's a bunch of these songs. I Got You, Babe, that's another one. We talked about one a few weeks back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this idea that, love is all you need, everything else is secondary. If we've got each other, then we don't need... food, clothing, shelter.
Yeah, exactly.
Way to earn a living.
Yeah, it just seems completely ridiculous. And look, sorry, Tom, the Bob Marley song that you referenced, I don't actually know that song because I don't listen. I sort of only really know one.
It's the one where he says, "We'll live in our shack together. We'll live in one single bed, and Jar will provide the rent. As in, God will magically give me."
I don't know if I've heard it because I only really like one sort of reggae artist, and that's Axl Rose. So I don't really know Bob Marley's material well. I do know.
Not now, Axl. You can have some reggae later on, okay?
Yeah, look. Yes. The music video for this, it's one of those house parties that just looks completely fucked. Sort of...
we've discussed that too.
You'd show up and you would think, I need to get the fuck out of here right now. But it appears to be in the middle of nowhere, which is super annoying and really inconvenient. Guys sort of driven for hours to get to this house party. You show up just going, holy shit, I hate everyone here. But, because you've made the effort of getting there, you just stick around for a bit and end up talking to some guy who sells crystals on the internet.
Yeah,
so.
I know what you mean. It looks like there's barely indoor plumbing. If you turn on the tap, rusty water comes out and there's no power.
The water from the tap is very hard to drink.
Half the people there have got bare feet. It's all shot in that late 90s indie style.
Yeah.
So there's an amber filter over everything, lots of following people from room to room, lots of slow motion dancing to presumably a different song, because I don't know how you would dance to this. And
you can't.
Weird close-ups of inanimate objects like a ping pong ball landing in some water or something, where the editor got bored shitless and started inserting stock footage into that fucking thing. Which I don't blame him for. After 90 seconds of this, I was desperate to see a bullet slowly piercing an apple or possibly my own head. Yeah. I mean, as you say, it's a step up from the last one in that it seems like a professional has mixed it. And the video, ditto, seems like someone's actually going, okay, we've got some leftover late 90s Christian rock video extras and an old house in the middle of a field. We'll put an orange filter over this and do your worst,
Yeah, fire sticks were conspicuously missing that time. I thought they might show up at some stage. This had all the sort of all signs pointed to fire sticks.
Yeah, I'm sure there were two guys up the back with knitted Rasta hats doing hacky sack, and they were both white.
Yeah,
I guarantee it.
Exactly right. Just looked like kind of maybe like
except those guys wouldn't listen to fucking Guy Sebastian.
No,
obviously.
That's the problem as well with these music videos. They always need to make it. I mean, not that the people in this video clip looked what I would consider cool, but they try and get what 45-year-old music executives think looks cool, and then you realise that
which is something that looked cool 10 years ago on the Christian music channel on cable if you subscribe to Foxtel.
But even if they hit the nail on the head, it's sort of like these dudes wouldn't be listening to this bullshit.
No, exactly.
It's like when they show like the Avril Lavigne sort of thing where it's like they're at the skate park and it's just like hardcore skaters are not listening to this.
I mean, you say like I don't like her. I find her music boring as batshit. But Delta, like it's like they hit her on the nail. Okay, this is what the appeal of her. This is what her music looks like. What it sounds like. The videos look like what it sounds like. Everything's consistent and stuff. So, like Shannon Noel, they aim low and they hit it on the money.
Yep.
Whereas Guy Sebastian, he always tries to aim a little bit higher and just consistently misses. So I'm not sure which of those two options is better.
Yeah, I don't know. But look, this dude, he's still rocking now. So he's still releasing music 20
so
years
is
later.
Shannon Noel.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
by releasing music, I mean covering fucking 40-year-old bands at
Exactly.
the rugby league grand final.
Yeah, look, so this is only 1 week, 3.3 mil for Guy. This also costs $1. I don't know.
3.3 mil.
Fuck,
Yeah, we talked about that. He had a... People know who he is overseas. I think that was the...
He must have some.
And he can sing. He can sing a bit. He's not terrible.
No, that's true. He does have a voice. That's right.
Whether he's good enough to have gotten anyone to record him sans reality TV is another question, but he's not offensive on the ear. Lyrically, this is only one of only two songs on this album, his debut album, co-written by Guy. The rest are other people's songs. And lyrically is the blandest, most plain porridge pablum imaginable, so I don't know what that tells you. But basically, if you sit down with a pen and write the line, got to let you know, anywhere near a songwriting context, then I've got to let you know to forget about being a lyricist. Because, look... How did I find such a love so true when I've only done a little right? Look and see that it can't be deserved, that the freedom that you give is mine. Doesn't rhyme, doesn't scan, only makes sense because you've heard every sentiment 50,000 times already. This sort of songwriting is like ripping open 3 stolen packets of pizza shapes, chucking them on the floor and saying that you've invented a jigsaw puzzle. Technically, sure.
When he talks, what's the first line in that, Tom? Sorry.
How did I find such a love so true?
I assume it was at that house party that he was
probably,
at.
Yeah.
So,
they said, sweet afro dude.
Absolutely
come through. Also, why he's still wearing a jumper with a shirt underneath with the collar popped. It's 2004, not 1998.
Yeah, exactly. But that sucks. God damn, fuck.
Yeah, it's a bit grim. All right.
Anyway, next one. Fantastic. This isn't a person from Australian
Idol.
Jamelia,
maybe?
Jamelia Superstar. I haven't heard this since it came out.
The only bit I remembered is the line, is the superstar.
Yep.
It's like, is it that one? Yeah.
Yep.
Which I guess is something. If you can get a chorus that sticks in someone's head after they've forgotten the singer.
I've got no idea who this is. I don't know what this is. I know nothing about it. Played it and just went, oh yeah, I can remember that. It's been since what year? 2004. Yeah, it's been literally 17 years since I've heard this. So yeah, look. This was released in 2003 by Danish pop singer Christine Milton, and then Jamalia or whoever decided, like 2 months later, that is a banger. I got to cover that and get that out onto my album. So she obviously saw there was potential in the song, just needed someone else to really give it the pizzazz that she does on this. So this is her biggest hit, although the follow-up single, Thank You, was also a top 10 hit.
I had never heard of Jamelia or seen the video for this. I always assumed this was Destiny's Child. Because it sounds exactly like a Destiny's Child song.
Yep.
In reality, Jamalia is a UK R&B singer doing the usual accent and affectations of American style R&B, which is very evident in the video. They've chosen one of the 2 sunny days a year in London and got the girls to walk in front of some graffiti, but it's still pretty fucking obvious this is London and not the Bronx. Also, Jamelia is dressed like Beyonce, but the choreography is a lot less Crazy in Love than Hen's Night trying to look sober in the door queue on 8-inch stilettos. I don't think Kanye's going to interrupt any white chicks for this one.
No.
But also, as a side note, you know what came out this year?
What's that?
Crazy in Love.
Oh.
Where the fuck is that? Why am I listening to a dodgy knockoff of Destiny's Child instead? Not to mention 4 weeks of Shannon Cunty Knoll covering a 20-year-old ballad about a chip shop with shithouse customer service. I don't know. I just, like I said, the chorus is memorable, but, everything else about it I'd forgotten.
Yeah, it is interesting how some of those songs that are considered, all-time classics of an era are nowhere near this podcast, like Crazy in Love, and then songs like this that you can't remember are just like, what the fuck's going on?
It must have been number 2 or 3.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
So look, what's Jamelia doing these days? Well, after a pop career fizzled out, she hasn't released anything since 2006. She did some modelling and acting. She claims that she lost some acting gigs due to the fact that her stepbrother was convicted of a gang-related murder.
Oh, jeez.
So she claims that she was cast in some things, that happened, and no one wanted to go near her anymore. I don't know why she didn't lean into that a bit more.
Yeah.
Sort of, if a casting director didn't hire her for a job, she could approach them and say, is this because my brother was convicted of murder? And then could say, well, look, if you don't hire me, let's just say that I know people. I'm not saying anything will happen to you. But I do know that people might not, take too kindly me being passed over for an acting role.
Or if you're trying to get some US-style credibility, why not lean into your whole from the streets thing,
exactly
Eminem
right.
style,
She could have, that's it, she, instead of doing that fake gangster shit, she could have released some legit sort of, popping caps in heads. And,
That's some
not
real
me, but
gangster
my brother,
stuff, that's right.
Definitely. So, look, maybe if she'd gone down that road and booked a few more acting gigs in her time, she wouldn't have been forced to do such things as film a show called Jamalia, Whose Hair Is It Anyway? Which I've not seen, but sounds very...
show?
Yes, it is a real show. So check that out if you can, probably on YouTube.
Or be a documentary about living in a share house, isn't it?
I don't know. Or be a judge on the reality show Move Like Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure what move she was assessing, but hopefully it wasn't the moves Michael made on 9-year-old boys and more to do with dance moves.
I think Corey Feldman was a judge on that show as well.
Jesus, yes.
It's one of the few people qualified to assess.
I think so.
Lyrically, this song is really nothing more than a mechanism to get to the chorus, which musically is pretty strong, even with this fairly limited production and the vocals not being exactly Whitney level. It was written by Christine Milton, as you said, who is one of Denmark's pop stars entrants. Given that she wrote this on her own, I would put her well above anything Scott Kane, Bardo or Scandalous managed. But I think she was a musician and dancer before she went on the show in some semi-professional capacity. But yeah, I mean, this shits on All I Need Is You by Guy Sebastian from the International Space Station, for instance. I don't know what it is that makes me feel like this. I don't know where you are, but you must be some kind of superstar because you got all eyes on you no matter where you are. Now, given that she's Danish, I'm assuming that Superstar was written about either Lars Ulrich or Hans Christian Andersen. But yeah, she obviously had a big crush on those two people.
Are they the same person? You never see them in the same room.
That's true.
You never do.
Rarely do. It wouldn't surprise me if there were a few Metallica songs that were secretly about the Little Mermaid or the Ugly Duckling. But
My life star determines my death star.
Those lyrics, given that that's someone with English as a second language, they are pretty good.
Yeah.
Like for this kind of thing, like they just fit perfectly. It is the original version has different production. I think she's a slightly better singer. It's still kind of low energy though. They're both a little bit.
Yeah.
You could cover this again. I reckon you could go for a triple with this and get someone else to do it. And really, because it's a good song. I actually quite like this. This is certainly my favourite of the year so far. Like, it's not terrible.
What do you think?
And you can dance to it if you want it.
What do you think if we heard this given, say, the Shannon Knoll treatment? Do you think that could... Is that what you think?
That's true. Tom? I didn't specify who was going to cover it, but yeah.
That could make it significantly better. So, look, don't give Shannon any ideas because he will do this, given the opportunity.
That is true.
Only 1 week for this, 1.5 million listeners on Spotify. So people must be liking this song. I don't know whether she's got many others out there, but this might end up on one of those best of the 2000s playlists.
Like I said, I spent a lot of time in nightclubs around that time, and it got played all the fucking time because it's got a banger of chorus. You can dance to it. And it was big. This got to number 3 in the UK, and it sold 400,000 copies, which is fucking decent. Like, that's 4 times platinum in Australia or whatever.
Yeah, this would still be on playlists today, so that probably explains her high numbers. And 24 cents on Discogs if you want to pick up a physical copy. Why wouldn't you?
Up next,
Britney.
Oh boy.
Toxic.
Kapow.
Another big hit for Britney. Look, to show people sort of think that, you know, I guess we should point out probably that, what do you think? Britney's starting to wind down a bit. Is she reaching the peak? She's close to. But look, to show how big Toxic was, and Britney at this time, Toxic was the most searched song on Google in 2004, top search.
Sure.
And Britney was the most searched artist of that year. Although weirdly, or maybe not weirdly, this was, one of her last hits, I guess. So, so she's still pumping out songs today and albums today, but this is probably the last one that you really remember as being a big hit.
A number one. She hadn't had a big hit for years. People were, like you said, they were saying she was slumping a bit.
Yep.
This put her back on top again, at least for a few weeks. But, like you say, it was huge. Probably helped that in the video she appears pretty much naked as well.
Yeah,
and it's a really cool video, but it's a really good song. Like, it's a sort of weird dance pop, techno pop song with elements of Bhangra music, particularly those high-pitched strings, which are sampled from a famous 1981 Bollywood soundtrack song called Tera Mera Bich Mine by Lata Mangeshkar and S.P. Balasubramaniam. Produced and programmed by the Swedish duo of Bloodshy and Avant. It's a really clever arrangement, I reckon. Those high strings contrast with the low sort of surf guitar, which sounds like something from an old James Bond theme soundtrack, like the ding-ding-ding, that sort of thing, to create something that sounds a bit like a sped-up spy movie theme, and that creates this real high-speed sense of drama and danger, which they then play off in the music video as well. They make it look like some sort of space spy movie or something.
Is she dressed up as an air hostess in part of this?
She is at one point, She's dressed up as about 20 different things. I think she's riding a motorbike at one point and, doing all sorts of stuff.
They probably spent $8 million on
I'm pretty sure. But it was worth it because, like you say, this was her last huge hit.
Yeah, definitely right. So is this a cover of the Crazy Town song Toxic, Tom? Do you know that? No one probably remembers that Crazy Town song. So. No. Toxic, go to Rocket. Terrible.
What was Crazy Town? Did they do Butterfly?
They did do Butterfly. So that was their emotional track, but apart from that, they did some F-tier rap metal, and one of the songs was called Toxic. So look, now Britney, she's released a lot of products over the years that we've not touched on, Tom. So 1999, Play Along Toys released the Britney Spears doll. The year 2000, limited edition sunglasses titled Shades of Britney, clever name. 2001, she signed a deal with shoe company Skechers. She signed a 7 to 8 million promotional deal with Pepsi, which at the time was the biggest entertainment deal at the time for an ad. 2002, 2002, she released her first multi-platinum video game, Britney's Dance Beat.
Oh, God, I forgot about
2009, Spears was announced as a new face of clothing brand Candy and had a signature line. She teamed up with Hasbro in 2002 to release an exclusive version of Twister, Twister Dance. March 2018, it was revealed that Spears would be the face of Kenzo, a French luxury clothing house. And in 2016, Spears and Glue Mobile created her own role-playing game, Britney Spears' American Dream, which is compatible with iOS and Android. So a lot of products there. But
downloading that later.
Certainly. One of the longest-lasting product lines for Britney is her perfume range.
Okay.
So Elizabeth Arden released Curious in 2004, which broke the company's first week gross for perfume sales.
Oh, shit.
Spears has released 30-plus fragrances, And worldwide, she'd sold over 1 million bottles in the first 5 years.
Wow.
With gross receipts of $1.5 billion. And that was just in the first 5 years. And she's been going since then. So, Tom, out of those 30 fragrances, which one has the worst tagline?
I wasn't even aware that perfumes had taglines.
Well, they do.
But okay, now I know.
So, curious, do you dare? Fantasy, everyone has one. Curious, in control, are you? Midnight fantasy, magic begins at midnight.
Okay.
Believe, the greatest freedom is to believe in yourself.
Questionable.
Curious heart, live yours to the fullest.
Doesn't make sense.
Hidden fantasy, what do you have to hide?
Interrogative. Accusatory. Frankly.
Circus fantasy, these names are getting terrible as well. Where nothing is what it seems.
Okay.
Radiance, choose your own destiny.
Those two things aren't connected.
Cosmic radiance, be the brightest star in the universe.
Difficult to achieve.
Fantasy twist, that might be related to the Twister boy, I'm not sure. Choose your fantasy.
Okay.
Island fantasy, what's your island fantasy? That's a bit more literal, that one.
Sure.
Fantasy anniversary, 10 hugs and 10 kisses, XOXO Britney. Yeah, okay, whatnot. Fantasy, the nice remix. Everyone has one, naughty or nice. And then Fantasy, the naughty remix. That was released as a sort of a dual sort of set. What one are you going to choose, naughty or nice? Fantasy Stage Edition, your favourite fantasy fragrance, XOXO Britney. Rocker Femme Fantasy, unlock your rock and roll side.
Well, she never managed it. But sure.
Fantasy Renner Edition didn't have one.
That was the Jeremy Renner edition. Didn't last very long. But yeah.
No, Fantasy...
It's like his website, I think it was out for 2 days and then got taken down.
Fantasy Intimate Edition. Everyone has an intimate fantasy.
Sure.
Okay, there you go. Maui Fantasy. Aloha from Hawaii. XOXO Britney.
Just showing off now.
Is that even a tagline, really? Private show. It's your private show.
Okay,
Ooh.
sure.
Fantasy in bloom. Capture a moment of pure enchantment when the world is full of possibilities and everything seems new.
Too verbose.
It's a lot longer than
there.
the other ones are like 3 words. VIP private show. It's your VIP show. Sunset fantasy. Experience summer in a bottle.
Big call.
Fuck. These are getting progressively worse. Prerogative. A fragrance for all.
Again, they don't go together.
No. Fantasy Pride Edition didn't have one.
Rainbow
Fantasy. What colour is your fantasy?
I think that would go with the Pride edition, wouldn't you?
Prerogative Rave. The new uninhibited fragrance for all.
Sure, you're only 20 years late. Like.
Glitter Fantasy. Dare to shine. Prerogative Ego. Play it your way and break the rules. Choose your side, then change your mind. Follow your instinct. What's your prerogative? Festive
I'll have to
fantasy.
ask Bobby Brown. I think he was the expert.
Live to celebrate life. Enjoy the simple pleasures of every new day as they encapsulate you into opulent colour, dream and delight. Jubilance and vibrancy will be your addictive signature. God. That's the worst for me because it's just fucked.
Once a month, Gary comes in here and they let him go. He just goes hog wild.
Yeah. Fantasy intense, elicit sweet temptation and leave an unforgettable and lasting impression. So that's all of them. They're all pretty fucking awful, aren't they?
They're not great, are they? I mean, I've seen worse taglines for $50 million romantic comedies starring A-list actors.
That's true.
But still, yeah, they start off bad and go downhill from there, I think.
Do you think Britney came up with them, or do you think someone was hired to come up with those taglines?
Oh, I think people got paid a lot of money for that shit. Unless the crazy ones might be Britney, like those ones that are 5 sentences long. But yeah, I think that really the earlier ones are better. The ones that are like 3 words long, like "Do you dare?"
Yeah.
Okay, at least it doesn't hang around long enough.
Curious in control, are you? I like the ambiguity.
Sure, yes.
You compare that, along the lines of play it your way and break the rules, choose your side, then change your mind, follow your instinct. What's your prerogative? That's nonsense.
Yes. Oh, like a fragrance for all, that's just meaningless.
Exactly.
You're not fucking Volkswagen.
I noticed she didn't release a fragrance called Toxic, though. I don't really know why.
Well, there's a famous perfume called Poison already. Maybe they thought it was too...
Is that Bret Michaels from Poison's fragrance? Or
Unfortunately, no. He put out his own called Cock of Love, but it wasn't a big hit.
Damn. This must have some lyrical highlights.
With the taste of your lips, I'm on a ride. You're toxic. I'm slipping under. With the taste of a poison paradise, I'm addicted to you. Don't you know that you're toxic?
Yeah.
Now, the question here is, Ben, was Britney ahead of her time in identifying the sociological phenomenon of toxic masculinity?
Yep.
Or was she just really into a guy who thought shopping was gay and, if asked to express an emotion, left the room and hid in his man cave for up to 4 weeks at a time, subsisting on a diet of microwave footy franks and painfully homoerotic Reddit discussion groups about how funny it is when tradies eat ice cream? I think it was probably the second one, and I think that guy's name was Kevin Federline, and
so.
I think he basically lived in a man cave, just smoking an ounce of weed a month with his bros, writing songs about how he wanted to see chicks' tits and a bit of their vagina as well, if they were up for it.
Yeah, a little bit of titty and a little bit of kitty, I believe.
Yes.
So,
but I mean, who knows?
It's
knows
hard to
what
say.
this is about?
Hard to say what it's about. So yeah.
Probably not written by her. I should have checked that, shouldn't I? But
written
I'm
by
guessing.
those Swedish guys, I think. They.
Oh, I
she got a
just
lot of
said
action
that,
out of
didn't
it.
I?
Yeah, you
God,
did.
they're
Got a lot of
running
action out of
together.
Sweden,
Yes.
so, yeah.
Bloodshine and Avant, by the way, are a Swedish songwriting and production duo of Christian Carlson and Pontius Winberg. They worked with Britney, Kylie, Madonna, and J-Lo, so they were the top end of the.
Oh,
They were like that
top
Max,
tier.
what's his face at the time.
Oh,
that,
yeah,
you know,
definitely.
there seems to be one guy every 5 to 10 years who just, he's just the guy that you go to.
Yep, Sweden just pop out
Yeah.
a lot of stuff.
They certainly
know
seem
what's
to
up.
have a knack for it.
They certainly do, definitely. So yeah, so that's Toxic. Fantastic. 24 mil for Britney on the Spotify. 94 cents to buy that. Cheaper than Shannon, might I add. So that's the deal. Essentially,
Somehow I think that his brown vinyl pressings probably
might be worth a bit more.
slower, less made than Britney.
So yeah, so just 2 weeks for that, but that's a great song. I enjoy
It
that
is.
one as well.
It's a
Still
good one.
holds up today, so fantastic. A lot of those fragrances probably smell very good as the day.
Yeah, like Outkast, it's just it's an inventive production of a pop song too.
Yep.
It's a slightly weird structure, and it sounds really interesting.
Yeah, look, running off the back of how much it costs to buy these off Discogs, I should have popped to Chemist Warehouse today and seen how much these Britney fragrances are selling for, because
Sure.
maybe next week we can try and factor that into the podcast, because this might seem crazy to people now, but when Britney brought out her first celebrity fragrance, there weren't many people doing it. She was sort of.
I was
she had
going to
one out.
say now it seems to be standard.
It's fucking, doesn't matter who you are. It's just like bring out a celebrity.
I pretty
fragrance.
much guarantee that Shannon Knoll has a fragrance out. I think it's called Big Black Shiny Car.
Without doubt. Yeah, definitely.
It smells like a burp from someone who's been smoking rollies and drinking Bundaberg all day.
That would be great if it was just a Bundaberg scented sort of, that's all it was. Just sort of diluted Bundy.
Yep.
Just in a bottle. So,
Smell of Queensland.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, up next, Usher featuring Little John and Ludacris. Yeah! With another exclamation mark. What a fucking combo this is.
I mean, it's not bad, is it?
Look, Usher has been described as the new Michael Jackson, which on face value isn't really how anyone wants to be described, but that's due to his dance moves rather than what goes on behind closed doors. But look, it turns out that Usher's also sketchy, then this song clearly fits into Usher's pre-ped work, and therefore it's okay for us to listen to it. We're just saying that now in case something R. Kelly comes out in the future and we don't want people going, oh, those guys supported Usher, and it's like, yeah, but we're doing it at the time when it's okay.
Yes.
So,
how many next Michael Jacksons are we up to now?
oh,
Somehow, I think that expression's lost some of its currency at around this time.
anyone
Also,
that could dance. I
Of
think.
all the people to compare him to, like, he didn't look, sound, act, or even dance much like Michael Jackson.
No.
Fucking Justin Timberlake bears a closer physical resemblance, for one thing.
Look, I think Usher had a little bit of fancy footwork going on, so I think people
he
just
was a
went,
good dancer, but,
yeah. But Michael, as a dancer, sort of took things to a new level, I think. So
Yes, plus on stage, everyone was constantly screaming at Michael Jackson to rip his shirt off and show his buff 8-pack, his glistening abs that he had,
Exactly.
Not some sort of weird Darth Vader cybernetic chest implant keeping him alive by a high-level industrial chemicals being topped up every night.
Exactly. So that's Usher. Ludacris is another member of this unholy trilogy. Is Ludacris the best actor in the Fast and the Furious franchise, Tom?
Well, I can't really judge because I haven't watched any entry since Tokyo Drift. I knew there was no way they could top that. But I'll say this, if they aren't using Move Bitch Get Out the Way as the theme song for every movie, then Paul Walker died for nothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
agree.
he probably had more in common than with Michael Jackson than Usher does, quite frankly. But from some of the rumours that were going around, I think he died at the right time too, frankly. But I think Ludacris is great. Ludacris and Little John bring a lot of charisma to the party. It's not just Usher here.
Oh, no doubt, absolutely. Little John, do I need to really say more? He brought the power in that Turn Down for What song with DJ Snake.
Just makes you want to break a pool table over someone's head.
Just
fucking great.
That's a great song. Might I just add that DJ Snake is one of the sickest DJ names going around. Like,
it's not bad.
I fucking think it's awesome. Like, whenever you look at a band lineup and one of the guitarists is called Snake, I don't care how many times it happens, I'm always like, that's fucking so sick.
That's true.
So DJ Snake is the best DJ name going around, and look, he's doing some good work as well. So look, love all the stuff that Little John's done. He just screams a lot. Like on Turn Down for What? And on this he does a bit of screaming work as well.
Yeah.
So
it was memorably highlighted by Dave Chappelle on the Chappelle Show around this time with his impersonation of him just going what and okay and like. I think in one sketch he rings up the real Little John on the phone and they just go what and okay at each other for quite a while. But I mean, it's great. It's very infectious. Like he was just saying, it just gets you so amped when you listen to this, which is exactly right. It just makes you want to, get in the car and drive really fast, break some pool tables.
Just gets you fucking pumped up. And I think Little John should be on, not all, but 80% of hip hop songs, I think, as a bare
just
minimum.
as a hype man.
Just going, what?
Yeah, he's so much more entertaining than like T-Pain or someone. But,
Yeah, exactly. And even the instrumental on this track gets people pumped the fuck up.
Oh,
on the dance floor as well.
This is one of those songs. Yeah, that is a little bit Michael Jackson. It's got that quality where you hear the first two bars before anyone's even started singing and people start going for the dance floor. You don't need to get to the bit where he says shake it like a Polaroid picture. It's too late. Everyone's shaking it already.
The second that first bar of music comes up, people are just fuck. And then Little John sort of comes in and just going, Everyone's like, I don't think he shows up until the end, which is a shame. He should have shown up at the fucking beginning and just went the whole way through. But look, it's pretty good. This is one of the best songs of this year, I think, in terms of gets me pumped up. But Usher's done, obviously he's a big star, done a lot of great stuff with music, but Usher's also worked with MasterCard since 2004, Tom. I don't know if you knew that. And together they launched the Usher Debit MasterCard. Now, I want that shit so bad. How sick is that? Like, just sort of when you go into a shop and pay, it's just like you tap and go with the Usher. Hopefully it's just got Usher on there, like doing some sort of hologram dance move.
I like to imagine that it can only be used for tap and go, because if you try to put it into an ATM, it's just got ab bulges on the top of the card, and you can't squash it into the machine. It's too buffed.
Yeah, so I contacted Commonwealth Bank yesterday and said, I want to get one of those Usher debit cards, and they had no fucking idea what I was talking about. But still keen to get one if MasterCard is still making that. It'd be good. What other pop star or musician in general would you like their debit card for? To sort of, do you think would be sick to just go when Tom, no, I'll pay for coffee, Tom, don't worry. You reach into your wallet, you pull out the debit card, and it's sort of like, obviously, Crazy Town debit card would be fucking awesome. But wouldn't it? And it'd be great if when you tapped it, they had some sort of functionality, so you just tap it and it goes, yeah, or just Little John just go, what? Tap and go, sort of that.
I was watching a podcast the other day, and for some reason, it was a video thing, and a guy pulled out his credit card to show someone something, and it just passed off in the background, and there's a pause that the guy who was watching the feed said, "Have you got a pink credit card?" And he said, it's Disney. They had Disney cards at my bank, and I just told the guy to pick his favourite one, and he picked me like a frozen, a pink one. I feel for the guy, but at the same time, I felt like saying, well, A, you told him to pick one, and that's what I would have done. And B, why are you getting a Disney credit card for anyway? You're a 30-year-old man, for fuck's sake. Geez, there's a lot of Disney adults in America. There's a surprising number.
Yeah, it's weird as hell. I don't really know at what point should you just be like...
I did see...
Goofy,
this is my favourite celebrity card. I would have got this in Japan. They had it when I was there. Kirby...
Yeah.
They had Kirby, you could get Kirby credit cards, and it was just completely flat pink with just two little eyes in the middle of it. But it had no logos or anything.
Just that.
It's like, I would have got one if I'd been allowed to. I think you could get them from newsagents. But
sweet. Yeah. A friend of mine, when she was living in Tokyo, just got sent her new bank card in the mail, and she just opened it up and it was just Winnie the Pooh. just didn't ask for this at all.
In Japan, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
It's just sort of like... I don't know.
If you got your card out and then... you went, hang on, what's this? And a little arm came out and another little arm and then two legs and then a little robot head came out the top and then it said, hello, I am your new credit card.
Branded credit cards, it's not something that's taken off in Australia, I don't think.
Not
you get your credit card or your debit card.
They might say, do you want a black one or a blue one or something? But
I don't even get given that option. They just send you one in the post when the other one expires. But look, an Usher debit card would be fucking radical, so I'm down with that.
Lyrically, the main song here is just about a hot friend of Usher's girlfriend rubbing herself all over him on the dance floor, and he's wondering what he should do about it. But really, this one belongs to Little John for giving the song its title, and Ludacris for rhymes like this. Watch out, my outfit's ridiculous, in the club looking so conspicuous, and roar these women all on the prowl. If you hold the head steady, I'ma milk the cow.
Yeah.
And forget about game, I'ma spit the truth. I won't stop till I get them in their birthday suit. So give me the rhythm and it'll be off with your clothes. Then bend over to the front and touch your toes. I left the Jag and I took the rolls. If they ain't cutting, then I put them on foot patrol.
Nice.
So, he's making a lot of promises in that.
He is, definitely.
Well, it probably pays not to analyse that too much. I'm still not exactly sure what if you hold the head steady on the milk the cow means, but I'm sure it's extremely wholesome and he's talking about some new kind of almond milk
he's
been promoting at the time.
Is he also saying that if they don't bang him, he's going to kick them out of the car?
Pretty much. They can walk, I think,
Yeah, because... Look, that's...
I like the foot patrol idea though because A, it suggests he's some sort of military commander, but B, it also suggests a whole long patrol of skanky hoes coming back from the nightclub behind his car. Perhaps some chant as they walk along. I don't know, but I've been told 8-inch stilettos are mighty cold when you're outside, not in the car. That sort of thing. Yeah,
look. Those are great lyrics, and it's just good to see that Ludacris is still with us today and producing good work, whether it's music or just... I'm sure the Fast and the Furious franchise just give him $5 million every 2 years to pop up and do some bullshit.
And also, Move Bitch, Get Out the Way, great song. I often think of it when I'm in lines pretty much all the time, in fact.
Yep. 21 mil for Usher. 4.5 mil
21 mil
for Little John, 5.7 mil for Ludacris. So all of them have got a lot of dudes, but Usher obviously has heaps. 32 cents for that, 1 week only for Yeah. And I guess they could only get 1 week for Yeah because we have to move on to the next song, which came along and just knocked it out of its spot, and that is Amen. Fuck It, I Don't Want You Back. Now, I'd completely forgotten that this existed.
Me too.
Mostly because it's fucking awful.
Yeah, this was my song of the year where I was like, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. 4 weeks, a month at number one, and I do not have any memory of this.
Well, what I quickly learnt upon listening to it again is like, this, but it's just because it's one of those songs where he says fuck in the chorus a lot, and that's such a novelty because it's like, oh my god, he's saying fuck in the chorus of a pop song.
It's a bit sad that was ever edgy, isn't it?
That was enough.
But it was. I mean, at the time, even if you're having an angry breakup moment and want to yell at some imaginary women, there's about 100 songs better at it than this one. like Fuck You by CeeLo Green or Give Me My Money Back by Ben's Folds or fucking Bye 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 by NSYNC is better than this shit.
look,
It doesn't even succeed at that. Like, as you say, its entire appeal seems to be that it's got fuck in the title.
You hoe, I
And
don't want you back.
back in 2004, they wouldn't play that on the... I mean, they wouldn't play it on the fucking Nova now anyway.
exactly.
So you'd still only hear the beeped version in the nightclub, usually anyway. Like,
Yeah, look,
oh, man.
Eamon was a one-hit wonder. This was the one hit,
Thank
and
fuck.
it's effectively a novelty song. I think if
Pretty
you're putting
much.
"fuck" in the title of a pop song,
Yep.
then it is a novelty song. The music video is him laying it on the chick who's cheated on him. So, like, just yelling at her, just
Yeah.
going, like, what, fuck you, I don't want you back, while he's at a pizza restaurant. Now, if you're breaking up with someone or telling them, fuck you, you hoe, I don't want you back,
Yeah.
you either don't order food or you order the pizza, you eat the pizza, and then you say it.
Yeah,
'Cause
don't do
he's-
it at a public
yeah,
restaurant either.
exactly. He's invited the chick to the restaurant, and they're singing there, just going, fuck you, you hoe, I don't want you back. And then the pizza, the waiter, it's awkward because he's brought this pizza out and he's just like yelling at her, and it's just like,
Also, fuck you
fucking
for
waste of
wasting
time.
pizza.
Yeah,
as well.
exactly. Go there, eat the pizza, then go, oh, how was
Yes.
that pizza? Yeah, pretty good. Fuck you, you hoe, I don't want
It's a
you
bit like
back.
that Bye Bye Bye, where the song lyrics make it clear that he's invited her over to his house to break up with her. So now he's trying to get her to leave.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly, yeah.
why did you invite her over?
Exactly. I mean, that makes no sense.
Yeah,
As well.
anyway.
So, no, completely
Sure.
agree on that front. So look, yeah, this is pretty shitty. Look, Eamon was interviewed by NME in England back in April 2004,
Sure.
and he was asked, why was your record "Fuck It, I Don't Want You Back" at number one for so long, Eamon? To which he replied, "Because these people are retarded over here." So there you go. I don't really
I wonder
know.
if he was being serious or whether he was joking.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He also said, I don't write things to shock.
Well, this
you go.
song won a Guinness Award for most expletives in a number one song.
Oh, yeah.
Although I was unable to verify that.
Yep.
It says that on his Wikipedia. If that record exists, I assume it's been beaten many times, much like Eamon himself, who looks and sounds like a man who regularly gets punched in the head
Yeah.
for doing MRE pickup lines in bars to girls who are standing right next to their obvious boyfriends. He just got that look about him.
How would you describe this type of music, Tom?
Without using one of his patented expletives, probably not very good.
Yeah, because Eamon describes his style as ho-wop.
So he's not just a one-hit wonder, but he's invented a whole genre.
Yeah, a whole genre called ho-wop, which blends the smoothness of R&B with the grittiness of hip-hop.
I would describe it as blending the smoothness of him being a hoe with looking like a bit of a wop, if I was
Yeah,
racist.
well, that's what I'm saying. What's more problematic component of ho-wop? Is it ho or is it wop?
Well, I think problematic was really his stock in trade. As his later work demonstrates, he really was only in it to, shock people. So,
Yeah.
yeah. How would you describe
Oh, I wouldn't say ho-wop. I think I'd probably describe it as shit-hop, and that's where someone attempts to align their work with hip-hop, but it's just boring shit.
Yes. This isn't hip-hop's asshole.
No.
Dido could beat this guy in a rap battle. What he doesn't want to say is that he's invented a new genre called Playing Nothing Compares to You on a Shit Karaoke Machine and whining over the top like a little bitch.
Yeah.
Because that's what this fucking song is. He can't sing, he can't rap. It's not a good effort.
No, it's pretty bad. He tried to replicate the formula of edgy lyrics with a follow-up single called "I Love Them Hoes."
Oh, weirdly,
The
that
chorus
was
of just "I love them hoes, love them hoes, love them hoes."
That was to placate the people who thought he was a sexist piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly. So he did that. To
Well
sort of,
done.
love them hoes. People didn't get on board as much as they did with this, and only reached number 24 on the charts, and didn't chart in the US. And he's done sweet fuck all since.
Yeah, apart from appear on Usenet bulletin boards about guys to avoid, I imagine. Lyrically, I mean, it's mostly in the title. Fuck what I said, it don't mean shit now. Fuck the presents, might as well throw them out. Fuck all those kisses, they didn't mean jack. Fuck you, you ho, I don't want you back. Now, someone obviously broke Eamon's heart, I believe that. The part of the song that's harder to believe is that she wanted him back. As the video proves, anyone who would waste pizza like that is clearly a turd apart from anything else. This is the song equivalent of one of those true story posts where the guy stands up for his rights in Starbucks and everyone cheered at the end of the story. That's what this is like. It's just got red pill written all over it, this fucking thing. It's not good.
No, there's nothing about it that I enjoy at the time or now. And
Look, I've been bitter at breakups before. Sometimes you do want to yell at an imaginary person or at your imaginary ex-girlfriend, but this doesn't even work on that level. It's just arse.
yeah, look, I don't ever want to hear this ever again. Hopefully Eamon doesn't try and make a comeback. I don't know, maybe he will. Let's hope not. I don't think he'll trouble this podcast again. So
I can't believe he did.
4 weeks for this, 800,000 listeners on Spotify, so some people listening to this. This sets you back 2 cents, Tom, so which is about...
very expensive.
It is, certainly. So, yeah, cool. Moving on. Next is D12, My Band.
Ah, yes.
Now, look, I don't know whether this was going places without Eminem. This sort of has I guess D12 in general, at the time, Eminem was, such a big artist that him aligning himself with a sort of hip-hop collective was always going to be popular just because of him. So, look, this is a song about how he's the, purported lead singer of the group. It's pretty much a joke song, I guess, a bit of a jokey sort of like... Chicks want to bang Eminem because he's in a band, but they don't know the name of his band, etc.
Yeah, well, it's also that he grew up with several of these dudes in the 8 Mile, around that area, and the idea is that he was in the band before he became famous on his own, so he's become famous now. He thinks he's too good for the band, and the other guys resent him for being in the band, so they've sort of made a self-aware joke out of that, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's not terrible.
No, it's not terrible.
He's willing to portray himself as a twat again, which is always good.
But when you watch this, it sort of has that sort of jokey Eminem vibe to the video clip and to the song itself.
But the other guys seem to have a sense of humour too, as well. There's no massive posturing going on in it.
No. So, absolutely. Look, I thought Purple Pills was the big hit from these guys. I remember that song, but I don't remember this one as well. I remember that other one.
Purple Pills got a dance music play.
Yeah,
It got played in nightclubs and stuff, But
I remember hearing that one a lot more than this one.
That's what I mean.
That only made it to number 3, so this was their biggest hit. I think Purple Pills was a little bit too drug referencey for some radio stations. So I remember they released a version called Purple Hills for radio, which makes no fucking sense.
No.
I don't think they changed any of the other lyrics.
Yes,
so.
We're getting close now, and I'm looking forward to the point when all the boomers die and we officially don't need fucking radio edits anymore ever because they sound fucking stupid. Yeah. There was a radio edit, for instance, of "Fuck It, I Don't Want You Back," and it was somehow even shitter than the real one.
Yeah.
And they've just released hip hop songs on the radio, and just they wouldn't beep them; they'd just be silences. So just half the words in the song. Yeah. It sounds like someone's on the crossfader just randomly skipping it back and forth. What are you doing? Just don't play it, or play the swear words, you weird twats. Anyway.
Yeah. Do you know any other people in this group? Have you heard them outside of...
which people, Ben?
Bizarre, Mr. Porter, Kaniva, Swifty McVeigh, Proof, Bugs, and Fuzz Scoot.
I thought they were all... Old Dirty Bastard aliases. You're telling me they're all different people?
They're all different people from the D12, yeah. I don't know.
I didn't know
they
any
might
of
have
them
done some solo
personally.
stuff.
I had a look. Sadly, Proof, who was Eminem's real childhood friend in Detroit, died in 2006 after the sort of incident that happens in a place where everyone has guns, e.g. a bunch of shit-faced dudes playing 8-ball on 8 Mile and have an argument, and everyone gets shot in the head. Unfortunately. Mr. Porter left in 2012 to become a producer on Shady Records, and Bizarre is still putting out albums under his own name. The other guys I struggle to find anything about. But they seem to be amicably friends. I think he only officially said that they were disbanding a few years ago, so they sort of, even though they hadn't done anything for a while, they obviously, keep in touch with each other and stuff. So that's
good. Definitely. Look, the video, as we mentioned, a bit of one of those sort of funny Eminem type jokey ones. Eminem dressed up as chicks that offer to suck his dick, which is obviously hot as shit. So just sort of Eminem doing that, going, oh, that's all sexy. And he does a highly dubious Mexican impression in the last 30 seconds of the song that I'm sure is extraordinarily offensive today. I forgot as well. I just went, oh, yeah.
Mexican, like Irish, seems to be one of those ones that people are still coming around to the idea that it's offensive to make too much fun of. But,
I guess this was 15 years ago. So
Oh,
maybe
well, that
people
too,
just-
yes. D12 weren't around long, but they did have a surprising number of hits, and their two albums only had two, Devil's Night and D12 World, which this is from, both went platinum. So they really did well for a few years there. Like, that's from like 2001 to 2004. So, even though they hadn't done anything, didn't do anything after that for a long time, but they played live, they toured and stuff, and they did festivals. I think they toured Australia a few times, on the strength of Purple Pills and stuff. But, lyrics, did you have anything else?
No.
Lyrically, there seem to be some internal ructions happening in D12. Bizarre puts it like this. God damn it, I'm sick of this group. Time for me to go solo and make some loot. I told you I made the beats and wrote all the raps till con artists slipped me some crack. Lose Yourself video, I was in the back. Superman video, I was in the back. For the media, I got some suggestions. Fuck Marshall, ask us some questions. Like, who is D12, how we get started. But what about Eminem, bitch? Are you retarded? I mean, it's good that they can joke about this stuff. I assume the animosity wasn't too real because there's 6 of them. And if they had all started firing diss tracks back and forth at each other, it would have caused some sort of diss track critical mass. Surely we would have heard about that in the media.
Diss track Cold War, I think, Tom, it was. Just sort of...
Because you know how much Eminem liked a diss track? Imagine with 6 other people all just flinging... Yeah, it'd be like that bit in... fucking Saving Private Ryan, where they were all throwing the hand grenades back and forth over the wall.
Yeah, I feel like Eminem would sort of go to, say, Taco Bell or something and get 2 tacos, and then gets to the car and gets
his fries,
and then he'd like just diss track taco, just like fucking hell.
And you're going to get another Mexican impression after that one.
You are, absolutely.
Sure. So what's this going for on the
36 cents, and they still have 3.7 million on the disc.
Oh yeah,
on the
it's
Spotify,
not bad.
So, yeah. Definitely. So that was just 2 weeks for that. Up next, Tom?
This is Anastasia, Left Outside Alone.
Now, if the guitars on this were tuned down half a step and you had Paul McCoy doing, who did the Wake Me Up, if you had that guy for doing a bit of Left Outside Again on this, then this could almost be an Effervescence song.
Yeah, it could be an Effervescence. Oh, it's Evanescence. Yeah.
It sounds like she's sort of trying to channel some F-tier, like, hard rock on this-ish.
It does a bit. I also found, I don't know why, maybe it's just her singing voice, but I always found her a bit similar to Taylor Dayne. There's this kind of sort of muscular pop thing about it, where it's not really dance music, it's not really a ballad.
No, this one's kind of a rock. I think it's a rock song.
Yeah, it's sort of a shout-along pop rock song,
Oh, and we've talked about Taylor Dayne before. Tell It To My Heart is one of the best of the 80s, my favourite song. Look, one of the songs on this album features the singer from Christian new metal band POD. So she's obviously sort of tapping that weak as fuck new metal on this thing. So I think she's trying to go in a harder direction.
Maybe you're right.
I think she's going a bit harder. So look, Anastasia loves a tinted lens, doesn't she?
I think we mentioned this on her last song.
Doesn't matter if it's drug dealer shades, nightclub shades, reading glasses, goggles, driving a car glasses. She'll tint the living fuck out of all of them. I've no idea, what she's wearing in this video. It looks like she's wearing flares, a shirt that looked like she picked up at a market in Istanbul in 1830 with a leather corset over the top. Makes no sense at all.
Yeah, she was always a bit... I always got the feeling that they never quite pinned down what she was supposed to, an image for her.
Yeah.
Like, she's older than your Britneys, but she's still a very attractive person, so they obviously want to funnel into that. But you can't have her, naked all the time.
Yeah.
But, what... And it was also, as we mentioned before, this is a very sort of crappy liminal stage from fashion where people were desperately trying to get rid of 90s stuff, but then they just kept...
They had nowhere to go.
Lunging towards orange mesh... midriff vests and stuff like that. Yeah, tinted yellow fucking snowboarding sunglasses and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what happens when you're in an era where everyone just wakes up and goes, "Oh fuck, the fashion right now is awful."
Yeah,
but
the start
if
of the
someone
90s,
hasn't
the start of
invented
the
anything new, then you don't really sort of. I guess it's sort of. Well, I wouldn't say it's necessarily happening now, but you do see a lot of young people are mining the 90s hard because maybe no one's invented anything new. But at this period of time, people were like, we don't know what to do yet. We don't know what to do. So it just got a bit
with
whacker
her particularly.
than the 90s.
I always felt like they they just didn't quite know what to brand her as, to style her as, you know.
Yeah, look, to be fair, this is on brand for Anastasia because, as we said, you know, in my eyes, she's known as much for dubious fashion choices as her music. And she released a clothing line with a German company in 2006 that I can only assume was completely fucked.
Oh, no, I didn't hear about that. I should have looked that up. I'm curious now. I bet it was just wall-to-wall yellow snowboarding glasses.
Absolutely.
Back tattoos.
Yeah, for sure.
Midriff.
I'll be hitting up one of those used clothing sites to see if any of it's still available.
Sure. This was written primarily by Anastasia as well as Dallas Austin and Glenn Ballard, and details the stringer's strained relationship with her estranged father. Knowing that now means that the song makes more sense than it ever did at the time, because I always just assumed it was about a relationship, which you would. You have to look that up because, frankly, she's not good enough at lyrics to convey that through the magic of English words. Like, there's nothing in this song that is anything paternal at all. You just have to know that from reading about it, really.
Yep.
Because otherwise you would just assume that it was about a relationship. And I wonder if you know how it really feels to be left outside alone when it's cold out here, or maybe you should know just how it feels to be left outside alone. Okay, that sort of seems to make sense. She's saying, you weren't in my life when I was a kid, so now I'm ignoring you now.
Yeah.
I hope you sucked in. See if you can make sense of this. I tell you all my life I've been waiting for you to bring a fairy tale my way. Been living in a fantasy without meaning. It's not okay. I don't feel safe. I need to pray. I mean, assuming that you've read an interview where she says about her dad, then the chorus makes some sort of sense. But the next bit, why you'd still be waiting for your father to bring you a fairy tale at age 35 is questionable. And plus, if you've been living in some sort of meaningless paternal fantasy world, then maybe the best way to fix it isn't to go off and have a chat with an imaginary bearded sky dad.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's really going to solve the problem. I think you might be swapping one problem for another, but anyway.
Look, that's
sorry,
correct.
that song got up my nose at the time. I always found her lyrics annoying, and the problem is she delivers them very forcefully, so you really have to listen to what she says.
Alone.
Yeah, I don't hate her voice, I just always thought her lyrics would be irritating.
Yeah, look, here's a tip, and I think that
It's not the worst
for my
song,
mind,
actually.
Anastasia's really hit the nail on the head here. And I think as a father, my advice to other fathers is, particularly if you're a deadbeat dad that's just going to leave your family and not spend any time with your kids at all, just check in every once in a while. Just come to your kids and say, look, I've been deployed to, I have to go and move to the Middle East because I'm working for a spy. Just, it can be complete lies. Kids will believe anything. Just go, look, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm, saving people from disasters on the other side of the world, or I'm working for a mining company and I'm offshore for 9 months a year, whatever it is, and just check in from time to time. It only has to be once a year for a weekend, and the reason for that is when your kid becomes the next Anastasia, they are not going to want anything to do with you. If you've left when you were 2 and she hasn't seen you for 25 years and you come up and say, oh, hey, I want to be in your life now because you're a big star, they will probably tell you to fuck off.
Yes.
But if you pretend that you're on an oil rig and then you just come in once a year, hey, yeah, bring a present or something like that, they will think that you're in the life and that you can't spend time with them due to your employment or whatever the case may be. Then when they hit it big, there might be a window of opportunity for you to come in and say, oh, look, I'm sorry I didn't get to spend much time with you, but I was working, overseas.
Yeah, that's right. What you want to foster a sort of toxic kind of
Yeah,
codependent, semi-absentee relationship like your Amy Winehouse, where you still get a slice of the cash, as opposed to like Meghan Markle, where you wait till they actually get famous, then pop up and go, can I have some money? By the way, I've talked to the tabloids about what you used to do when you were a teenager, and then weirdly they don't want to talk to you, I think.
Exactly. If you're an absent father, come up with a fake reason why you're an absent father. Don't just be a dead shit.
At least
just
be an alcoholic or something where you can blame it on Pierce.
Exactly right. But I think it's better to pretend to be a spy, Tom, as you said. Or just one of those things.
Hey, you can be both. Look at James Bond.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly. So there you go. Look, 2.7 mil for Anastasia. She does have quite the following.
Surprising amount.
2 cents for this, but wait until this gets covered by Paul McCoy, and I think the value will go up. So, yeah, indeed. Anything else for that one?
No, you know what? If she'd fronted Evanescence, they could have really gone somewhere with that kind of...
I think so, definitely. Maybe the current vocalist of Evanescence and Anastasia sort of doing a back and forth vocal style, I think. would
Yeah,
have worked.
with Paul McCoy on back.
Yeah, much like when Anastasia and Celine Dion did that AC/DC cover.
Oh, God,
which
don't remind me about that.
they
Cover's always
traded
better
lines.
than the original.
Yeah, it is. Watching Celine Dion try and do a leg air guitar
Oh,
thing
wow.
is one of the worst things I think
Jeez,
I've
at
ever
her
seen.
age, that's brave.
Yeah, it's
All
very,
right,
very brave.
Quickly, let's get on with it.
Up next, Spider Bait with Black Betty. Now, Tom, the term cultural appropriation gets thrown around a little bit too
Yeah.
much. Do you agree? I mean, I think a white dude with a burrito truck isn't necessarily destroying the fabric of multicultural society. And further to that, you can't tell me that everyone that works in one of those sushi shops selling the rolled sushi is Japanese. You know, is it cultural appropriation or fraud if a sushi shop only employs Asians and implies that the staff are Japanese with some sort of ancestral connection to sushi, yet they're actually from Malaysia? You know, I'm not going into those shops and going, this is cultural appropriation.
I always ask
where are
for
you from?
birth certificates
Yeah,
when I go.
Where were you born?
That's right.
Singapore. You can't be rolling sushi. So, of course, it makes sense that people from various backgrounds may actually go somewhere or travel somewhere or do something and then just go, you know what, I really like burritos, I'm going to open a burrito shop. I'm not Mexican. Am I? Is it cultural appropriation? I don't know. I'm not sure, but I think the term does get thrown around a little bit too much. Look, I'm not convinced that as a concept, you know, it happens, because people should be free to sort of do as they please, and the general public can then decide if they sort of, they might say, there's a burrito shop, that dude's just a white Australian guy, maybe it's going to be shit because he doesn't have that sort of ability to do it, or whatever the case. But I think the general public can decide for themselves whether something is authentic, inauthentic, whatever the case may be, and that's okay. So yeah, I sort of
At least
don't...
he should stop paying that guy to wear a giant sombrero and dance around the front going, Ariba, because that's clearly a fake moustache and he appears to be Irish. So.
That's certainly true. So while the white dude pumping out, you know, he might be pumping out the best burritos in town, but if they're trash, then people won't want to support it. So look, what the point that I'm trying to make here, Tom, with the cultural appropriation element is that while I don't necessarily agree that it exists, this is 100% cultural appropriation.
Well, to be fair, other bands have also covered this song.
Oh, yeah.
It was a big hit for Ram Jam in 1977. I think that was the one most people know. And weirdly, I'd never heard this before, but Tom Jones did a sexy funk cover in 2002, 2 years before this, which is a lot more fun to listen to, frankly, unless you've got an extreme attachment to Triple J core late 90s bands that probably should have packed it in already. Yeah, I mean, it's a catchy song, what can I say?
Yeah, look, Spiderbait, the band that gave us Old Man Sam and that song on the 10 Things I Hate About You soundtrack, returned with an ill-advised and poorly executed cover of Black Betty, I'm saying. The song dates back to the days of Texas prison chain gangs.
Okay.
And possibly back as early as sort of early 19th century. It's considered an African-American work song and was recorded by Leadbelly in 1939. He's the first person, I think, to lay it to tape, but as I mentioned, it sort of had that predating recorded music sort of element of people singing this song and performing it as sort of like one of those working in the chain gang type
He
songs.
was a folk blues guy, which meant that a lot of the songs he sang on recordings were just folk standards or blues songs that he knew. Like, he wasn't claiming to have written
No,
songs.
but just sort of, I guess, collecting these songs so that people are able to hear them, because a lot of these things, if they don't get recorded, sometimes they're lost to time. So that's what he was obviously doing. So, look, if those chain gangs created this song during their working life, then this song is a product of forced black labour. And in turn, it's safe to say that Spiderbait are profiting off the back of black forced labour. So, look, while Cram is not a slave owner, he's the next best thing. Is that a fair assessment?
It mathematically makes sense to me, sure.
Yep. So, look, I can't agree with this. I think if you are listening to this, then you're probably sending money into the wrong pockets. So that's all I'm saying about that, Tom. Now, speaking of which, is Cram the worst pseudonym in music? It's sort of, is it the result of him cramming those drumsticks up his own arse? Where does the name come from?
Cram with a K, yeah, look. Kramer from Seinfeld. I don't know. You've got me.
Yeah. Look, I'm not sure. Look, he's also used one drum beat for 7 albums of material, so he's sort of just, Black Betty.
They were quite big in Australia for a while, Spiderbait, but I really am struggling. If you said, what's your favourite Spiderbait song now, I would really struggle to think of even one song title.
I can remember this. I can remember Old Man Sam, but I can't even remember how it goes.
I remember that one from the 10 Things I Hate About You, but I don't know the title, and I only remembered it just because you reminded me of it. It's the opening track as it pans across the suburbs.
I think I must have erased them all from my memory because I can sort of remember his like scratchy like vocals, but I can't really remember much about the songs. A friend of mine said that he was at a music festival once, and as you do with a music festival, as one band is finishing, you want to try and make your way up to see the next band. Yeah. So you're sort of like, I want to watch this band. There's 15 minutes left of this band set, so I'm going to try and start making my way now. So I've got a good spot.
From the band who were trying to leave early from the 15 minutes so they can get to the dunnies before everybody else gets there.
Exactly. So a friend of mine said he was at a music festival going to see a band that was coming on after Spiderbait, had made his way through. The crowd sort of got there, caught the last 5 minutes of their set, and he said that they did a cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit, and then halfway through the cover of Smells Like Teen Spirit, they went into Black Betty, and then after Black Betty, they went back and did the end of Smells Like Teen Spirit. The old Nirvana cover sandwich, where you do a Nirvana song, go into a Lead Belly cultural appropriation song, and then you finish it off with Nirvana. And he said it's one of the worst 3 things he's seen in a live music setting. So I'm not sure what the other 2 were, but he said it was
those things
fucking
can
terrible.
work if they're done by... I saw a Muse concert once, and they did a bit of that action, and it worked really well. But I think they did it just the right amount. Like, that sounds like way too much. I
don't know if you can remember Launceston cover band extraordinaires Hogwash, Tom.
Sure.
But I remember going to the Basin concert and seeing them perform fucking almost every year. I think they were there, and they love nothing more than the old cover sandwich. Where you do like woohoo, and then you'd go into a little bit of I think. Probably something from The Offspring, I think, probably makes sense. So, I'm just a sucker with no self-esteem. I said, woohoo! And then you go back into that. And that was their shtick, and people seem to think it was very impressive, but it was fucking ridiculous. So
I was waiting for Junk Mail to come on anyway. I was up the back.
Junk Mail, one of the few Tasmanian bands that advertised on television. Like, there'd be Junk Mail buy our CD ads on. I don't know.
You don't see that much, do they? The only way that would happen, because no record company's going to pay for that anymore, you'd have to fund it yourself. You'd have to save up.
I think they funded it themselves at the time.
Guarantee they did. Probably by their paper routes handing out Junk Mail, which is where they got their name and their musical education from.
You can get some cheap ad time during Burjo's catchphrase. All right, sign us up then.
Okay. Well, lyrically, there's not much to say. It's only got about 10 words. The chain gang thing makes sense because this reminds me of one of those marching chants. Yeah. As mentioned before, that troop sing, like, I don't know, but I've been told. Like, you could sing this all day and just make up new verses over and over there. Like, it's sort of, it sounds like they're talking about, I knew a girl called Black Betty. She had a son who was crazy. And then, you know, but she was good in the sack or whatever. Yep. But you could just keep going. You could just, each verse, you could just make up new stuff, and then it comes back to that sort of stomp chorus. And Spiderbait just sped the stomp up so it sounds more rocky, which is kind of what Ram Jam did too. So.
Given that this came after Ram Jam and Tom Jones, is this the definitive version of Black Betty Spiderbait? is that what's going to happen? You know, when people look back in time, they're going to say this they got it right, because the cover always improves on the original time.
The Tom Jones one, I'm saying that's the best, my personal opinion. But then I am a massive dork, so you have to take that into account. So, yeah.
Look, that's okay. That's a cover as well, better than the original.
Do you remember that very brief period where Tom Jones was cool again? He did a covers album and was like, because his voice is still as good as it was at the time, and he picked songs well. Like, he did Kiss by Prince and he did Sex Bomb, and I think he did like a Kylie song or something, but like, he's just got so much charisma. It's ridiculous.
He keeps going, so definitely.
I'll forgive him the cultural appropriation or not, depending on it. And Ram Jam, it was the 70s. There was no such thing as cultural appropriation back then.
Oh, look, I often find it an unusual concept to grasp as well, because I know that sometimes people do suggest that you can't do something without...
We'll talk about it again at the end. There's another one. I will come back to it at the end, but yeah.
Yeah, look, I think it's died off a bit now. It's sort of, we did reach peak cultural appropriation a few years ago, I think, where anytime someone wore something, there was just like those buttons were invented by
people getting angry at Amy Schumer because she did a TikTok dancing to a Beyonce song.
Yeah.
When she was in the jungle on a holiday or something. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's completely ridiculous.
What, do you think she got paid for that shit?
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway,
so, look,
moving on. We are two
happiness.
suburban white guys. We're obviously the people that need to be talking about this. So
yeah, but I'm not doing a Black Betty cover, Tom.
No,
so
that's true. Let's move
on. So 900,000 for Spiderbait on Spotify. That's more than Delta Goodrem, I should mention.
Well, they were around for 10 years, and they toured like buggery. You know, they were like Grinspoon. They were one of those Triple J bands that were everywhere for ages. They were in every Hottest 100. They had a song in there. Their song that year would be in it regardless of what.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they're one of those bands that, I haven't looked at this, but have probably back touring now. You know how a lot of those bands from this era,
possibly,
took a decade off, and then they went, oh, we can do those sort of bands from the 90s tours at a vineyard or something like that.
They were never as interesting as Regurgitator, but they were definitely more interesting than Delta and Grinspoon.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's because Regurgitator started doing harking back to 80s style music in 1995 when the decade had, you know how the 80s by about 2010 had just been strip mined, and sold for parts, and effectively everything in the 80s, like Regurgitator started doing that at a period of time when it was so uncool to be like, let's go back and do 80s electro pop, and everyone was like, what? No. So
they were a bit like Ween, not up to Ween's. No. They're on their own little planet, but they were sort of on an outer ring of Ween of just not caring at all about what was cool and not cool, and just doing whatever they thought was amusing at the time.
Yeah, I remember the dude from Regurgitator was interviewed, and he said, I just wanted something to play on the car stereos when they did that unit, the really 80s sort of.
Yeah, I was on a link for a page and some American had put. Somebody talking about some song and he said, that's very repetitive. And then there was a link to a YouTube thing and I clicked on it and it was, I Like Repetitive Music by Regurgitator, which is just, it's so funny. It's such a good song. It's sort of, like, it's kind of got this weird hip-hop bit in the middle about how he's this really, it's quite well done. It's a very fast rap about... but when I actually looked up the lyrics, I couldn't tell what they were because they're too fast. It's about how safe he is, like how he double checks all his airbags before he goes for a drive and uses a 3-point harness, wears a helmet all the time when he goes through bike rides. It's like the least tough thing. And anyway, it's just funny. And
the dude from Regurgitator did date the chick from Spiderbait for many years, I believe. So there's one link. Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
So there's the link to this band. So there you go. $250. Costs you $250 on Discogs for a Black Betty.
That's expensive.
Exactly.
That's way too expensive.
Way too much. Just watch it on YouTube.
All right, let's move on to something that's a bit more lasting and useful than that.
This has stood the test of time. This is Frankie with FURB, or Fuck You Right Back. Oh. Now, I'd totally forgotten this was a thing.
Yes.
Now, if you don't know what we're talking about, this is a response track to Eamon's Fuck It, I Don't Want You Back from Frankie, who's even less remembered than Eamon.
The fact that these two songs were both Australian number ones for a total of 7 weeks in the mainstream ARIA singles charts does not speak well about Australia as a whole. Yep. This comes back to your why is Scott Morrison the Prime Minister type of thing.
Yeah, look, this is sort of, you spoke a bit before about diss tracks. Usually in hip-hop, someone does a diss track, then that person who got dissed has to do a response diss track, and that's sort of how it works. Yes. And same with this. Eamon did I Don't Want You Back, and then Frankie said, well, I'm going to do a response track to that because I've been dissed. So, and Eamon said about this, it's a nice idea, but it sounds so bad. She's got a pitch problem. good try, bitch, but it ain't no good.
Yep.
So I got to respect Eamon for staying on brand.
Yeah, remember that thing I said about the red pill? Thought I was making that up, didn't you?
Yeah. And the funny thing about this is that the backing track for this is just the Eamon song.
Yes.
So she just does new lyrics over the top of that. So Eamon was sort of like, didn't care so much because he's still got songwriting royalties.
He had a quote about it. Yeah, like she claimed that she was his ex and the song was about her. But then he, in an interview, said, look, she's not my ex. I've never met her. I was not involved with FU Right Back. I've never met Frankie, and she's definitely not my girlfriend or ex-girlfriend.
So that's where things got really weird, because it was sort of like, Frankie's done this response track. It's good to see her getting her point across. And then Eamon said, I've never even fucking met her.
Yes, but then, and then in another interview, the guy must have said, like, well, then why did you let her use your song and the actual music, like not just cover it, but like, and he was like, well, she paid me, so I've never met her, but she wants to do a diss track, whatever.
Yeah, exactly, because...
Oh, sorry, and I welcome her to my world of ho-wop! Exclamation mark. Still trying to make ho-wop a thing there.
Yeah, look, so Frankie's FU Right Back, calls Eamon out for being lousy in bed and giving her crabs. And features probably the finest lyric of the decade. You must be smoking crack, your sex was whack.
Yeah.
So, look, give her credit for that.
Every bit as well written as the original, with the slight advantage that she didn't write the original.
Yeah, look, how do you think Frankie was accepted with open arms by the world of Ho-wop, sorry? Do you think that...
Well, seeing as it was a very small world that existed entirely inside Eamon's fucking... MRA poster.
I'm a member of the Ho-wop community.
Pickup artist.
Like even to this day. Is there a subreddit on Ho-wop? Check it. See if there's anyone on there. So
bet you that there is. Look, so in case you're keeping score, Eamon gave Frankie permission to use the music and she paid him money for it.
Yep.
So either she wasn't his ex and they both have independent, unresolved developmental problems, or she was his ex, he was lying about it, and they're clearly the world's most public version of the shit-faced Raj couple who stagger down a busy street 50 metres apart from each other and yell, give us me durries, you scrag, and fuck off, you dog, at each other.
It's that, exactly. It's that in song format, I think so.
Yep. And one of them's carrying a sleeping bag, the other one's got one thong, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it does seem completely insane.
Except this is a bit less classy.
Yeah.
And the fact that Australia put it at number 7 shows that apparently we secretly like that couple and we're down for watching what they do next.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's a pity they didn't keep going. He didn't release FURB 2.
Maybe I love them hoes was a response to this. I don't know. So who will?
I'm guessing there's a M. Night Shyamalan style turnaround in the last verse where he obviously reveals that he hates them hoes and that
absolutely
men are the real victims, etc.
Yeah, I'd say so.
They only want to have sex with chads. He's an incel now. He's bought some firearms. He's written a manifesto type thing. Yeah,
Eamon may well be the poster boy for incels.
He's stockpiling rifles right now. Yep. There's no question.
Yeah, but Frankie's, I don't know what she's up to these days. I hope that she saved the money from the FURB. Yes. I hope she's
the $20
invested that wisely and she's doing all right now.
Yeah. Lyrically, as you said, I mean, it's, see, I don't know why you crying like a bitch, talking shit like a snitch, why you write a song about me. If you really didn't care, you wouldn't want to share. I mean, ex-girlfriend or not, she does have a point.
Yeah.
Like if you really don't care about, your girlfriend and you don't want her back, why the fuck are you writing a song about it?
Probably so he can try and etch a hit out of...
I mean, crikey. In terms of comeback songs, Ben, what's classier? Fuck It, I Don't Want You Back versus Fuck You Right Back. I'm a Bitch versus I'm a Bloke.
Yep.
Or Short Dick Man versus Fat Ass Bitch.
Oh, look, Short Dick Man is a classic.
Did you hear Fat Ass Bitch? Ross had that on a CD single. That's a real song. that was a clap back to Short Dick Man.
I haven't heard that one, but
Don't
I assume
want
it's
no Fat
very,
Ass Bitch.
I assume it's
great.
very good, yeah,
Yep.
definitely. Yeah, look, it's hard to know. Certainly not this, though. This is not the best
No,
response track.
It's not the best anything.
It's not the best at all.
I can't believe that was at number one
Yeah,
for
Frankie's
a total
got
of 7 weeks. Fuck me backwards, Australia.
150,000 listeners on the Spotify.
Okay.
So it must be on one of these
Sure.
shittest comeback songs in the 90s or 2000s, sorry, plays or something in
World's
19
worst
cents.
diss tracks.
Yeah, exactly. So look, that's that. I still can't believe that was a thing. First, Eamon, I
No.
forgot about it, and then I went, oh shit, and there was that response track.
It would have been funny if the response track was a number one, but nobody had ever heard of Eamon. But unfortunately, they were both number ones. So
Yeah.
Australia needs to get into the fucking Hall of Mirrors
Yep.
ASAP, frankly.
Indeed. Look, up next, Tom, Britney. She's
Oh,
back
a song.
with Every Time 1 week for Britney. Now, this is Britney's final number one in Australia for now.
Yeah, unless she pulls off a
Unless she-
Cher-style
yeah.
third act
Hopefully
career or
she can
second
pull something
act.
else
Yeah.
off. But yeah, if that doesn't happen, we won't get to talk about it anymore. Any parting words for Britney, Tom?
It's a pity she didn't go out on a slightly more... I would have been happy with Toxic,
Yeah.
as a sign-off.
Toxic's great. This is sort of shitty. Like, she's obviously learnt something from the bullshit of last year, and by that I mean piano ballads. She probably looked at the charts and went, Delta Goodwin had 5 number one hits last year, and there's all this other bullshit. So she's just pumped out a piano ballad, and this is pretty boring.
Yeah, it's just a kind of boring-ish love song. I mean, yeah. I didn't watch the video, however.
Oh,
I
the
didn't have
video,
time.
yeah. Look, the video, it's her and her romantic partner, and
Okay.
they're having a bit of a fight, and things don't go well. And then Britney jumps into a bath, and she does that thing where she's nude, but the hair just covers her cans.
Oh, okay.
So they've
Maybe
got
I
that.
should have watched this video.
They've got that happening. So she's in the spa bath, and then in the bath, she sort of falls under the water, and she may have drowned, and then she's in the hospital and a baby's being born. So it's all very odd, but then at the end she's alive and well, so it's okay. Because she's saved by her boyfriend who comes and gets her out of the tub.
Okay.
But you don't. But then at the end of the thing, you don't know whether that was all a dream, because she pops out of the tub again awake.
Okay.
So it's like, did she really go to hospital? What's going on with this? So
That's
it's all,
also impossible. Did you know that?
yeah, it is. Yes.
They had to legally say that was impossible because I think it was up until the 1800s in Britain, it was quite a popular method of killing your wife.
Oh,
Saying that she drowned in the bathtub. They had to officially make a legal ruling that it was that with doctors to say, like, it is not possible to drown in a bathtub
unless someone's holding you on.
Yes, or you've had 3 bottles of whiskey or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like that. You cannot, your body will not let you drown if you faint in the bathtub.
Yeah, look, the best part of the music video is that her love interest is played by Stephen Dorff. What's your favourite Stephen Dorff piece from his extensive body of work, Tom? Do you have one?
I was a big SFW fan.
Oh, that's what I was going
that
to
was
say.
grunge movie, unappreciated grunge movie extraordinaire.
Yeah, look, I think that's great. If you haven't seen it, it's Stephen Dorff and Reese Witherspoon and a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
The concept is they go into a shop, like a 7-Eleven type convenience store, and then when they're in there, it gets held up
Yes.
by some crazy robber guys, and then they make them live in the shop and broadcast it on
right.
TV.
Yeah.
Like they go in there with guns, and they're like, we're holding everyone hostage, and we're going to film it with a camera, and you have to broadcast it live on TV.
It's the
otherwise
most
you're gonna
grunge
die.
movie of all time.
And then,
it really is.
And then they pop out of this thing, their ordeal after a couple of weeks, and all of a sudden they're celebrities because people.
Yes.
It's like a pre sort of reality TV
Truman
show.
Show
Yeah,
type
yeah,
thing,
exactly.
yeah.
So imagine like
It's all
Big
about
Brother.
how the media man is trying to brainwash you, man, and he's authentic. So you know, and his catchphrase is "so fucking what," which is again the most Generation X try-hard thing ever. And that SFW, that becomes like a national catchphrase.
Exactly.
And
Imagine Big Brother.
There's a twist at the end, but I won't spoil it.
No,
It's
don't
M.
spoil
Night
it.
Shyamalan style. Again, he comes up a lot. It's so twisty.
It's sort of like Big Brother if all the contestants were being held at gunpoint. So.
Yes, and the only items of clothing available for sale were flannelette shirts.
Yes, correct.
Or T-shirts with ironic catchphrases on them.
Yeah, so look, I think when we're talking about Stephen Dorff's best work, a lot of people might say Blade.
Sure,
Blade.
yes.
The Power of One.
Forgot
You
about
said
that.
SFW, which I would probably say as well. Some might even say fear.com.
Sure.
But for me, Dorff did a promo video for blue e-cigarettes that made e-cigs look so fucking uncool that I assume it encouraged people to take up smoking. Now, if Stephen Dorff can't make e-cigs look cool, then no one can.
What? How did it fail?
It was just here. It was black and white, and then the e-cig was black and white, except the end was blue. And then he'd sort of smoke and just go, "I'm Stephen Dorff. I've been a smoker for 20 years, but now I've given up tobacco. I'm in the e-cigs. You can smoke in an airport if you want. At the game, in a bar. Look at this." And then it's just him smoking this e-cig, blowing it out in slow motion, going, "I'm Stephen Dorff." And I was like, Christ.
That must have taken place in the 6 months where you could actually do any of those
exactly.
things. Also, everybody puts fucking nicotine in it anyway, so you're still smoking anyway.
So,
never mind. But yeah, no, that is tricky. If you can't make e-cigs look cool,
if he can't, then no one can. Yeah, exactly.
Look, I was going to make a Stephen Dorff / Dorff on golf joke, but that's too past it even for me. Do you know Dorff? Do you remember Dorff? Dorff was this guy made up by some golfer / comedian in the 80s. It was a play on the word dwarf, you see, and he would, Daryl Summers style, walk around on his knees on sneakers, and he would do like golf instructional videos as a kind of Mr. Bean style dwarf character. Yeah.
Has it aged well? Or?
Oh, yes, I'm sure it's aged. I'm sure Dorff never smacks women on the arse and they go, ooh, and giggle or anything like that. I'm sure it's a very tasteful portrayal of little people as well. But it was spelled exactly the same as Stephen Dorff spells his name.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Good.
Once you see that written down, it's just a weird word. Just Dorff is a weird word.
Absolutely.
It sounds like an insult, even though it's not. But.
Gee, I wonder, you don't see that that last name around a lot.
No.
Would he go on further in Hollywood if he had changed it to like Stephen Donovan or something?
Possibly. I mean, it does stick in your head.
Yep, Dorff.
Like, yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Anyway.
I'll watch SFW tomorrow.
Sometimes a bad surname does stick in your head. John Hamm, John Hamm's surname literally means bad actor.
Yeah.
But he could have changed that, like before he got famous. He had plenty of time before he got famous to change it, but he didn't. And then he sort of sticks in your head. It's just a kind of weird, sort of dorky surname. Yeah. You remember it.
I'm feeling it, exactly. Does this have lyrical highlights? Because it doesn't have any musical highlights, that's for sure.
Yeah. Unlike most of the songs on the album, Britney wrote the lyrics and music with a bit of help from Annette Atani, who claimed that the song was about Justin Timberlake. The two started hanging around together around this time because they'd both broken up with their partners and were sort of both feeling in that mood together. The chorus is a lot of, I guess I need you, baby, sort of thing. But the bridge says this, I may have made it rain, please forgive me, my weakness caused you pain, and this song's my sorry, at night I pray that soon your face will fade away. Which seems to make it pretty clear who broke up with who in that relationship.
Yes.
And it probably explains why JT did that mean song afterwards with a Britney lookalike in the video. I suppose we should be grateful he didn't write some men going their own way anthem like Eamon did and waste a whole pizza, the fucking dipshit.
Yeah,
but
weirdo.
yeah, at least he just did a snarky one about going out with some blonde trollop instead. But yeah, no, it really does seem to be just her feeling vaguely guilty about it. It's not great either. It's a bit like Guy Sebastian earlier on, where there's only 2 songs on the album that you actually wrote and they both suck.
Yeah, exactly.
It just doesn't... You know. Also, this is not her first album by this point. This is album number 4 for her.
She's pretty deep at this.
Anyway, all right. What have we got next?
24 mil, 79 cents. Go buy that. Up next, fuck me, Shannon Knoll, Learn to Fly.
Oh, Axel, look, we get it. Okay, you can have some reggae later. All right. It's Shannon Knoll. He's back again.
Straight off the bat, Tom, I'd just like to point out that on Discogs, this will cost you a cool $4. Now, I don't know what. They must have only printed 5 copies or something.
That brown vinyl's quite expensive, only.
I mean,
You have to stand at the back of the dog and wait for it to produce manually. It's quite slow.
You have to give up your daily coffee to purchase this. It's the same price. I think I'd just drink that coffee.
I would pretty much guarantee you that $4 is more than the CD single copy of this would have cost at the time.
Yeah, it's appreciated in value.
Unadjusted
How's that
dollars.
working for you?
That's right.
Look,
it's because of all the Shannon Knoll collectors out there.
Yeah, definitely. Look, this one starts off as a piano ballad, but after about 30 seconds, Shannon elevates it into puss rock territory.
That was a big time for puss rock.
Yeah, this is weaker than some of those Delta songs from last year.
Yeah.
This is pretty shit. It's a cover originally written and performed by British boy band A1, whoever the fuck they are. I mean, I didn't bother listening to the original, but I assume that sucks. I mean, this would be better than that. The cover's always better than the original.
Yeah, I did have a listen. It's not great, and the lead singer looks like the British version of Shannon Knoll, to be quite frank. He's got the same hairline, the same haircut, minus the flavour saver, which also sucks. It's weird. They seem to have barely existed, that band. It seems like they were out for about a year, barely enough to have an official single. Like, there's no actual video for this song.
Yeah.
There's like one shitty handycam recording of them performing it live. So, clearly A1 were not A1 at, sticking
good enough
together.
for Shannon to
Yeah,
jump on board.
I mean, I realise there's a limited number of songs he could realistically afford to cover.
Yep.
But I would suggest maybe don't pick one that is A, balls, and B, has exactly the same name as a much better, incredibly popular song by a much better, incredibly popular, well-respected band that came out 4 years earlier.
Yeah,
perhaps?
that's probably right. Yeah, people might have been expecting a cover of the Foo Fighters song and then just went, oh, shit, it's this.
Yes,
or something.
it's also, it's not like people are, if you change the name slightly, it's not like people are going to go, oh, hang on, I'm a big A1 fan, how dare you?
That's very true. Isn't A1 like a milk brand or something these days? I don't really know. But Shannon...
It's a falafel shop up the road from
Shannon was just very fortunate. Timing's everything in music, isn't it? And certainly I feel that at the time...
yes.
At the time, the Australian public wanted this.
I guess.
But I think if he'd uploaded videos of himself singing on YouTube now, he'd be lucky to get 1,000 views, don't you think? I don't really see anyone doing that. It just seems really mediocre, this song. If someone who's maybe the third or fourth best singer at your office decided to launch a pop career, you'd probably just say, maybe just stick to that OH&S shit that you do, bro.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, that sort of has this vibe of like someone that's like, I'm a pretty good singer. I'm the best
sure
at work.
the guys at Dan Murphy's warehouse where he used to drive the forklift also had the same opinion about Shannon as well. Personally, the only thing, I think you're exactly right, the only thing that Shannon has done recently that would get 1,000 views on YouTube was him cracking the shits at length on stage after someone was piffing beer cans at him at a small town concert.
That's right.
See that?
I did, yeah.
The best song he's done, I think, in his entire career was the Tom Ballard ABC cover version of him set to What About Me, which is him just singing what he says in that.
Nice.
Get up on stage. You fucking maggot, come on, get up. Come on, you dog. Get up on stage. It's just the transcript. That's quite funny. I'll put the YouTube link in there.
Nice.
Yes, so what else came out with this sexy package? This $4 masterpiece?
$4, Tom. And a lot of people are thinking, $4, what am I getting exactly for that $4? Am I getting Just Learn to Fly? But of course you're not. Being a CD single, you're also going to get two previously unreleased B-sides, one being a cover of the Southern Sons 1991 hit Hold Me In Your Arms,
Don't remember that.
which I assume Shannon Knoll butchered terribly, and the other being a cover of Michael Jackson's hit Gone Too Soon. Now, was Michael gone too soon? Some may say so, some may say gone not soon enough.
Forgive me, but when did he die?
2008.
Oh, okay, yeah. So he's
still alive.
quite prescient, really.
Yeah, exactly. Look,
So Shannon had a vision one night.
yeah, he did. Look, Shannon Knoll performed Gone Too Soon to a tearful audience during the broadcast of the 2004 Allan Border Medal as a tribute to Australian cricketer David Hookes, who was killed during an altercation at a Melbourne bar several months earlier.
Yeah, they weren't sad about that. They were just crying because they
Exactly.
were listening to a Michael Jackson cover by Shannon Noll.
Now, Tom, if this podcast takes off and we end up F-tier celebrities and I die in an altercation at a Melbourne bar, can you please intervene if Shannon offers to perform this song or any song from his oeuvre as a tribute to me, please? I don't know David Hooks personally, but I doubt what he would have wanted is Shannon Noll to get up and sing a cover of the Michael Jackson song Gone Too Soon. I don't think that's what anyone would want.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to imagine that it's even what Shannon Noll would have wanted, really.
I can't imagine.
Who knows?
All
I mean,
right.
I assume he wanted to get paid, but yeah.
Yeah, jeez.
Yes, so what have we got up next?
Up next, Tom, we have...
Oh, hang on, sorry, I forgot to check the lyrics. Forgive me.
Yep.
Would you just take control of this sophisticated electronic alarm system here that I've developed? This was written by band member Christian Ingebrigtsen along with Peter Gordino, Chris Porter and Rick Mitra, and a single was cancelled when the group decided to split, so they didn't even, that was A1, didn't even last long enough for this single to come out.
Sad.
That's probably why he could get it. Now, I want you to ring it whenever you hear a tedious, obvious cliche in this song, okay? This is the start. When you feel the dream is over, feel the world is on your shoulders, and you lost the strength to carry on, even though the walls may crumble, and you find you always stumble through, remember never to surrender to the dark, because if you turn another page, you will see that's not the way the story has to end. And if you need to find a way back, feel like you're on the wrong track, give it time, you'll learn to fly. Tomorrow is a new day, and you will find your own way. You'll be stronger with each tear that you cry, then you'll learn to fly. Looking at your situation, there's so much that you can do. Now's the time to make your stand. This is just an observation. In the end, it's up to you. The future's in your hands. I think that's broken now, but I'll get a new one in case we need to.
Look, the lines I didn't
I can't imagine why A1 broke up.
Yeah.
It's weird, right before this single came out too.
Yeah. Let's write 16 lines and make sure that 14 of them are just the most annoying, overused.
It just keeps
cliches
going.
known to
I had to stop because I don't want to pay for another sophisticated electronic alarm system.
Yeah, Jesus.
But yeah, no, it's just like that. The rest of the song just continues.
Yeah, look, that sucks. $4. Play, if you, I don't know, if you win the lottery or something, you'd have some spare cash that you don't need. Maybe go and buy that. All right, Tom. Up next is Paulini, Angel Eyes.
Axel, Jesus. Look, we'll give you some reggae later on. You can listen to Single Bed for a bit, okay?
3 weeks for this. Now, this is a piano ballad, also one of the runners-up on Australian Idol, so it goes without saying that this is some very high-caliber material. Runner-up from Idol doing a piano ballad. Now, this is a cover of the Jeff
Two of your
Healey
favourite
band
things.
song.
Yep.
Now, Jeff Healey was, of course, in the finest film ever to be released, Roadhouse.
He was, and it's a shame to see him brought this low, frankly.
It is. I didn't think that things could get as bad as they are right now, Tom, in the podcast. Roadhouse, great film. Fantastic film. I used to fuck guys like you in prison, Tom, is one of the finest lines in any film. And Jeff Healey, of course, featured on that. And I really don't think that if he had have known that one of his songs would have been covered by Paulini, I think he may have stopped writing it. He may not have written the song. He may have just went...
And that would have been a shame.
I know, exactly. So... I don't know how I feel about this. It's
Who
awful.
is Paulini, Ben? What's her story?
So-
I'm going to regret asking that, but let me know.
She was one of the runners-up on one of the series of fucking Idol, who knows, whatever the one was this year. She was also a member of the Young Divas, which is probably the most fucked and cynical music entity ever put together. It consists of Australian Idol contestants that didn't make the grade from various seasons.
Oh, the B tier.
Yeah, so the whole is significantly worse than the sum of its parts. So it's just basically Paulini, someone that came third in another year, someone that came like sixth, and they all got together and made this band.
So you guys, Sebastian and you Shannon Knowles, these were the people people.
They're
that
top tier.
They weren't good enough to get a musical career on the strength of talent alone.
Yeah.
And these are the guys who weren't good enough to get into the Guy Sebastian Shannon Knoll tier.
Yeah, like Paulini is sub Shannon Knoll tier, which is saying something. Look, you know, that's the thing. So I've sort of talked about the Young Divas.
Yeah.
When Paulini, you know, her solo career sort of didn't really go too far after this Jeff Healey band song. Then the Young Divas split up. So what's she been up to since? Well, in 2017, she was given a 6-month suspended sentence for bribing a government official to unlawfully obtain a driver's license after she paid a road and marine service employee $850 for an unrestricted New South Wales license.
Now, I can actually get behind that decision, if I'm honest. If you're an adult in Australia now, it probably cost me upwards of $3,000 to get my license as an adult who's I don't no longer live with my mum and to get her to drive me around in her car, not counting buying a car or time spent or having to actually learn to drive.
Yep.
As any short trip will demonstrate, half the people on the road can't do it anyway, so why not just armour yourself in a huge four-wheel drive and get out in the suburbs, change some lives. You know?
Yeah, look, I think, Paulini, it is a wise move. You just show up to the old driver's licence place and just go, look, I've not done the test. I don't know how to drive. I don't know anything about it. How does 850 sound? You lay the cash down on the table. The dude just goes, sweet.
How does Mawson feel about that one? Sliding $100 note over the desk at him.
Exactly right. So she did that.
He's got some friends as well.
Apparently it's illegal to bribe government officials to give you driver's licences unless you've passed a test. So Paulini found out about that the hard way, but just a 6-month suspended sentence, which was good because it meant that she wasn't in prison. She was able to star in the Bodyguard musical.
Good. Glad to know.
Is there a lower form of entertainment than the musical based on an already successful film? That is bottom rung for me, Tom.
Yeah.
Why would you pay $75 to watch Paulini play the role of Whitney Houston and I assume Shannon Knoll as the Kevin Costner character when you could just watch the film for free? I mean, you'd have to have an acquired brain injury to determine that is a worthwhile use of money. What I think pisses me off is that I assume that, you know, the arts, under the umbrella of what we call the arts, implies some sort of artistic endeavour or artistic, you know, it implies creativity, correct?
It certainly does, yes.
It's about creating something new and whether that is, you know, taking the parts of what has previously come before us and trying to forge that in a new direction, whether that's musically, the visual arts, film, whatever. But I find it quite cynical to just say, hey, that film was real popular. What if we just made a stage show of the exact same thing?
It's not great.
It's creatively devoid of anything.
Yes,
at
and
all.
I mean that's not even getting into musicals themselves, or
Which are
like
terrible.
That.
Yeah.
Or well, just some people like them, but I mean even then, I think even people who like musicals aren't that into this stuff. As a citizen of Melbourne, a city that has trams, also the large theatre companies in Melbourne seem to have an ongoing contract with tram advertising, which means that I can only imagine that tourists coming to the city of Melbourne assume that the entire city is totally obsessed with seeing Shrek, the musical theatre production.
Exactly.
What else is going around at the moment? The Wedding Singer, the musical theatre production, the 7th straight year of Harry Potter and the cursed transphobic agenda and fucking all the other ones that are going around. Grease, the musical, Baz Luhrmann's Moulin Rouge, the officially licensed musical, etc. These are just the ones I've seen this week, just walking down the street. Yeah, so I don't think it is a particularly good advertisement for our city either, frankly. It kind of offends me, as anyone, as a human being.
I don't want to see a convicted criminal, albeit for one of the lowest rung crimes that exist, playing, Whitney Houston, the Bodyguard. I don't want to see that at all, Tom.
No, it sets a bad example.
So look, that's the Paulini story. Haven't talked a lot about the song, but she fucks it up. It's no good. So, look, we don't have to worry about that. But I guess with musicals as well, where they do these sort of film musical things, maybe I'd be more interested if they took a real shit film and said, we're going to try and make it better than what it was.
Exactly. Or do a parody of the film, like do a funny version of a film. Take some over-serious bullshit. You know,
Take something serious like
the
say
Pelican Brief or
or Look Who's Talking Now, and make that into a comedy.
yeah.
Maybe you could try that. It's a novel
Take
idea.
Police Academy. Try and make a comedy
try
out
and
of
make
that.
a comedy out of that. So yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But
There will be a Police Academy musical.
But that's always
the way,
been
that's going to happen.
it's always been my sort of why I don't watch any remakes or reboots or belated sequels. I don't believe in any of that stuff. I think, and the reason is because they just take something that's popular and then try and recreate the popularity. If you take something that's shit and then sort of say, you know what, we can take the bare bones of, say, Rotor and turn it into a great film, I would appreciate that. But no one does that. They don't have the balls to do that.
No.
They're creatively bankrupt individuals that just take successful films and then put them on the stage. So I've had enough of that. This will also cost you fucking $4. Jesus Christ.
It's brown vinyl.
But
again.
Paulini only has 5,000 listeners on Spotify, so which doesn't surprise me because she's done sweet fuck all.
Oh, but I'm sure the Young Divas have more, though. They'd have a huge following. Look,
Paulini could probably sing this song in the Roadhouse musical.
yeah, lyrically, look, well, I'm a girl who never learned to dance, never even got 1 second glance. Across the crowded room was close enough. I could look, but I could never touch. So tonight I'll ask the stars above, how did I ever win your love? What did I do, what did I say to turn your angel eyes my way? Now, yeah, as I'm assuming that this song was written about an average night at the Double Juice bar from Roadhouse.
Yeah.
In which case, she's obviously talking about Patrick Swayze. So I'm thinking that she turned his angel eyes her way with a PhD in philosophy, 3 cans of hairspray, and a giant bolt-on rack.
Yes.
That would be my best guess.
Look,
Possibly some bad girl style table dancing. Could be
yeah,
that.
I think so.
Or some good girl style fixing him up after he's been cut to shit in some sort of accident at the local doctor's clinic.
Absolutely. If they do make the Roadhouse musical with Paulini singing this song, who would you like to see play the Patrick Swayze character? Is that more Shannon Noel, you think? Or
Look,
is that
I don't know if there's a man alive who could play the Patrick Swayze character.
Yeah. Cram from Spiderbait, I think, can get up there and just go, I used to fuck guys like you in prison, bam, shalam, something like that. So it'd be pretty good. So
Maybe the guy who's currently playing Shrek, he'd be up for it.
Absolutely. Cool. All right, up next, Missy Higgins' Scar. So Melbourne's own Missy Higgins with more piano action. Now this is a person that's written their own song and they haven't been on a talent show. So that's a novelty. So look, the piano had a moment in the Sun in the early 2000s.
It sure did.
Probably not since Beethoven were people so fucking pumped up on the piano. So people were loving it.
They really were. Like you said, last year was chock full of them too. This was the first single from her first album, The Sound of White, which debuted at #1 on the ARIA albums chart and sold over 500,000 copies, which is pretty bloody good for Australia. Good. She was nominated in 5 categories at the ARIAs 2004 for Scar, Best Female Artist, Single of the Year, Breakthrough Artist Single, Best Video and Best Pop Release, which she won. This also got to #2 on the Hottest 100 in 2004. Losing to Take Me Out by Franz Ferdinand, unusually a good song in the top spot there. Most had predicted Who Farted by the Vaughns as front runner, even though it came out in 1995. Or possibly I'm going to do it with Madonna by the Androids again.
Was Shit You to Tears around this time?
I think that was number 3. Yeah. But yes, like as we said earlier, this is another song which was critically and commercially very successful. Not bad for #1 single from #1 album. Also, she was 20 at this point too, so, very young. She looks even younger too when you look at her now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look, is Missy Higgins the poor man's Vanessa Carlton, or is Vanessa Carlton the poor man's Missy Higgins? How does that scenario?
Who was Vanessa Carlton again?
Remember a couple of weeks ago, she if I could fall into
the
sky.
Yeah.
Remember she does the piano on the back of the van.
Equally, they're both young. They both wrote, they're both singer-songwriters. Yeah.
This is what I call, this fits into the category of, quote, wacky piano chick. But I would take this over piss boring Delta 99 days out of 100, I think.
Totally.
So.
I quite like Tori Amos, for instance.
Yeah.
She's pretty wacky. Piano doesn't have to be boring as hell. Axl Rose was a piano fan.
Yeah, exactly right. Look, the video shows Missy Higgins performing the song on an old piano, and it's falling apart as she plays it, so she has to repair, falling apart, she has to put it back, exactly,
Yes.
metaphor. So much like that Vanessa Carlton video, people just went, chick behind piano, could be boring as shit, but
Yeah, they
Vanessa
tried to
Carlton's
do
got
something
the
more
piano on a
interesting.
truck, Missy Higgins has got the piano that's falling apart, and she's fixing it up as she plays the song. So look, I think it's pretty good. And yeah, look, it is a pretty catchy song, I think. So
Yeah, I don't
I'm not
hate
surprised
this, I've got to admit.
the only thing I'm surprised about is it only went to number one for 1 week.
Yeah, no, it was huge on Triple J. They played it all year.
Yep.
And it's quite jaunty too.
Oh, yeah. It's not-
Yeah, it's not slow. It's not a slow ballad, and it's not a kind of saggy love song like the Britney one.
Yep.
Which is particularly odd when you consider that this is about two previous relationships that she's had in which both parties tried to turn her into a person that they wanted her to be.
Yep.
And that she wasn't, and reminding herself not to let anyone do that to her again by remembering that you've got a scar from something.
Yep.
For instance, the first verse is, he left a card, a bar of soap, and a scrubbing brush next to a note that said, use this down to your bones. And before I knew it, I had shiny skin, and it felt easy being clean like him. I thought, this one knows better than I do. Now, whether you like this song or not, I think it's a good example of why people come to more low-key singer-songwriters and why their appeal endures, even at things like bloody open mic nights, and why they aren't on the charts much. Because she's trying to elucidate something a bit more nuanced than I want to bang you, I'm sick of banging you, or I'm angry you banged someone else.
Yep.
It's also pretty good considering that she wrote this when she was 20. When I was 20, I was unemployed and I wrote poems about how I was scared at looking at people. And weirdly, those failed to rank on the hottest 100, even when I read them at poetry nights out the back of Montezuma's Mexican restaurant. Discount cocktails on those nights.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, so, you know, I'd give it, I'd say this is all right.
Yep. Did they have frozen margaritas on tap?
They
Sort of
did.
poured out of a
By tap, you mean they had a slushy machine that they
Put
tipped
some-
shit vodka
put some-
into it.
yeah, exactly.
You could also smoke indoors back then, which was good because it was usually about 3 degrees outside.
Yeah. So $1 for this, 700,000 on Spotify. Any lyrical highlights, or we didn't?
Well, I just read some, yeah. But yeah, I consider them to be highlights.
Yep.
But yeah, this next verse is about someone else.
Ah.
It also, it wasn't edgy at the time, but I like the offhanded way that she points out that one person, the first relationship is male and the second relationship is female, so it leaves it up to you to decide whether these people were family or lovers or like musical partners or something like that. But
Yeah, and I think I remember after this song came out, of course, as is always the case, people are like, "Oh, what's your sexual?" I feel like people probably don't really ask that these days. I know.
I hope
It was just
people
like,
stop.
"Oh, what's
Yeah.
so do you like dick?"
Yes, they were more accepting, but they were still overly fascinated.
yeah.
Exactly the same way people are with trans people now.
Yeah,
like
so-
eventually people get over it and then just remember that they're just normal people again.
And I can't even remember what I know that she eventually got married and had kids, I believe. So I can't remember whether who the fuck even knows. But I do remember that was like a big thing. Like, she's got short hair. Is she a lesbian?
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, who the fuck cares? But yeah, I remember. Yeah, it sort of seems weird that a lot of performers at the time, it was like, we need to find out. Whereas now
I
it's
like
just-
it that it doesn't actually say whether they had sex or not. It's just generally saying any sort of relationship where one person tries to make you into a different person to fit your mold.
Yeah.
And you voluntarily going, well, they seem like they know what they're doing, so maybe I should do what they say, is probably not a very good idea.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of if you're boning with them or if you're their boss or whatever. It's, yeah.
Exactly. Look, so up next is Colossima, When the War is Over.
Oh, no. It's Axel. Jesus. We'll give you some reggae, all right? I promise.
Colostima, no, it's Cosima. Cosima.
Cosima.
Another
Yes.
Australian Idol contest. Fuck, what is it about this season of Australian Idol? Every single contestant releases a shit single and every single one goes to number one.
Yeah, it's the going to number one that I hate. The releasing it is a plan, but Jesus fucking Christ.
This is a weak as fuck cover of the Cold Chisel song. It was originally a power ballad, the Cold Chisel original, but once you strip away the power, you just live with absolute garbage, I think.
Especially in this song, most of the power comes from his voice.
Yeah,
There's not a lot of... It doesn't have a fucking soaring guitar solo or anything. It's mostly his voice.
Yeah, the original was predominantly sung by a friend of the podcast, Ian Moss, who, of course, tried to bang Tucker's daughter about 2 decades ago.
Sure.
But this is pre-Tucker's daughter, so I think
And also, that's
okay.
a better song than this as well, for what it's worth.
Absolutely, yeah.
This is from Cold Chisel's 1982 album Circus Animals. Big year for Australian music, obviously. That was the year the Moving Pictures so memorably went to that chip shop. The song was written by drummer Steve Prestwich and issued as the third single from the album, peaking at number 25 on the National Singles Chart, which just goes to show that you can write a good original song and hit number 25 but get lasting respect, or you can sell your ass to Satan, go on a crap TV show, hit number one for a fortnight with a sketchy cover and be immediately forgotten. Sorry, but those are your only two options, Ben. That's your only two options.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, this was independently recorded and released, and it debuted at number one on the ARIA charts and was also the best-selling independent single of 2004. So, it sounds like she couldn't actually get a record deal and just had to do it all by herself. So, respect to that.
Yeah,
but,
I guess.
This is whack as hell.
Sure.
So, 2 weeks for this, $1, and Cosmo has 869 listeners on Spotify.
Wow. Jesus.
I think that might be the lowest we've ever come up with so far.
Paulini was low.
Yeah, so...
Her voice isn't terrible compared to someone like Shannon Noll anyway, but a power ballad demands power. Taking this sort of song, removing the band, and going with the stripped-back schmaltzy arrangement needs a voice like Celine or Mariah, and she's not even close to that. Ain't nobody going to steal this heart away. When the war is over, got to get away. Pack my bags to no place in no time, no day. You and I, we used to use each other's shoulder, still so young, but somehow so much older. How can I go home and not get blown away? Now, he's using the metaphor of war, as the title of the song would suggest, to talk about the end of a relationship there. Although I'm not sure what the going home and being blown away means, even metaphorically. I mean, especially if you just got kicked out and are sleeping in a caravan park. I'm not really sure how that works, but hey, you know, the song's called When the War is Over. It also has an unusual song structure, this one. I don't know why, but it's got like the chorus at the start, 3 verses, and then the chorus at the end. It's kind of an odd one.
It does, definitely. And Cosima really steps it up notches. And
by standing on the edge of a cliff in a long dress and bare feet, it really adds something to it, certainly.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, moving on to something with a bit more staying power.
Nelly, featuring Jaheim. My Place.
/ Flap Your
Wings. Now, this is Nelly's, when he talks about My Place, do you think that's located in Nellyville? Is that sort of the place
Well,
we're
I would
talking
assume
about?
so.
Is it the place that he lives at that's just up the road from Kelly in the diorama video?
He's
that's
got
the place?
telescope angled towards her front window and the bedroom, obviously.
Yep. So the chorus of this is just Nelly saying, "Come over to my place." I think he may have ripped those lyrics off from Melissa, if you can recall. Read My Lips. After that, I think the follow-up single was My Place, where she just goes, "Come to my place. Come to my place, baby, come to my place." So
maybe that's what he's talking about.
I think so, absolutely. And later in the song he says, "If you want to wait till later, hands off my detonator." So he must have been listening to a lot of Melissa.
I don't think Nelly ever wanted to wait till later.
No,
I think he was
not at all.
Pretty much a right now type of a dude.
Exactly right. So this is the first single off his Suit album, one half of the Sweatsuit double album, released Guns N' Roses style on the same day.
Clever guy. And he separated them, unlike Outkast.
Exactly. So
you really don't get very much good value for money there. But
this song is one I'd sort of completely forgotten about as well.
Me too.
I sort of listened to it and went, this vaguely rings a bell. I can't really remember much about this at all. So it's kind of shit.
Yeah. I had to refresh my memory too. It's lyrically, it's a song about a guy just some random dude, let's call him, I don't know, Kanye, who was going out with a really hot girl, except he was a hot-headed asshole and they fought all the time, so they broke up.
Yeah.
Except now he's seen her with some other dude, and the possibility that she's not going to bone him anymore has just occurred to him. So he's trying to get her back in a sort of vaguely pathetic way, a bit too publicly, This one can easily be summarised by the very start and the very end. The first two lines, I used to pride myself on being the other man, but now it's flipped and I don't want you with no other man. So, wow, the serial cheater is creepily obsessed with someone else's loyalty. That's unpredictable and certainly not a red flag. But never mind, because I'm sure he'll improve before the end of the song. Which is, if I could take back every word I would and more for sure, if I thought that you would believe it, because you make my life so convenient for me. I'll definitely try that on Hinge next time I set up a profile. A serial philanderer seeks strictly monogamous partner for hot R&B banging and non-stop screaming matches. Why not devote yourself to making my life convenient for me? P.S. I have a tiny little pedophile moustache and recently got a boo-boo on my cheeky wig. So, yeah, I'm sure I'll be, knee-deep by the end of this week, especially when they see my do-rag underneath my fedora with the brim pushed back like I walked into a door and didn't notice.
Is there anything more romantic than you make life more convenient for me?
Chicks love that.
So convenient.
Could you get me a beer while you're at the fridge, love? I think was his next line.
Exactly. 15 mil for Nelly, 38 cents. Yeah, I don't know.
Nah.
No good.
B tier Nelly is not good.
Cool. All right, moving on. Maroon 5, She Will Be Loved.
5 weeks, yeah. This didn't
weeks.
go
Now,
away for a long time.
Maroon
Speaking
5,
of dad rock.
Yeah, are they a Maroon 5 sort of front runner for current worst band, do you think? Are they up there?
They're kind of tailing off, but they did hang around for a while. People do
they're
still
still
mention
going,
them.
Tom.
Yeah.
If you watch Rage in the Morning, as I do with my children, they pop up with a little bit too frequent. I'd have to
what's
say.
his name? Adam Levine. He's kind of done some solo stuff, I think, too. But, they're not the worst.
Black Eyed Peas are the worst group, but by some distance. But
they really self-fulfilling prophecy got retarded.
Yeah,
I have to say.
I think. Yeah, more bland than bad, I'd say, Maroon 5, just sort of churning out some pretty bland action. So, look, we, the general public, were almost spared from all of this. From, probably, I think roughly now they've been going for about 2 decades, but Maroon 5 were originally called Kara's Flowers and released an independent album in sort of an alt-rock, like, I'm not going to say grunge light, but sort of alt-rock-ish type style. Signed to a major label and released a power pop album that only sold 5,000 copies. So they were dropped from their record label, and in a perfect world, they would have stayed broken up. They would have all just gone back to school or something, and we would never have heard from them ever again. But look, I should point out that Kara's Flowers performed at the Peach Pit After Dark on Beverly Hills 90210. So
the original...
Peach Pit After Dark. Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
In 2004?
No, but this is when Maroon 5 came out. Kara's Flowers were like a few years before this.
God, they must have been around for a while.
I reckon they were probably rocking around the year 2000 or 2001, and then they split up for a bit when the record label went, you guys suck shit, and then they got back together, changed the name to Maroon 5, and they said, Adam Levine, let's get that. He was playing guitar in the other group. They said, let's get that guitar to someone else. We just want that sexy man up front doing his moves and then all that shit. And, so he made it work. So
he's really the Fergie of this group then, isn't he? Speaking of Black Eyed Peas.
Pretty much
He's the male Fergie. That makes up a lot of sense.
I think he's one of those dudes that certainly is an attractive man, and I think that's really... He was sort of a bit of a focal point for the group.
Yes.
And they've sort of got by on that to the point that if you watch their music videos, in most of them, the rest of the band aren't even in it. It's just him. Yeah. Like, it's sort of like... So it's Maroon 5, but it's just the other 4 dudes.
Yep.
You don't ever see them. So...
They're just taking the money. Yeah, which might be a blessing in disguise, really, because then nobody knows you're in Maroon 5, but you still get paid.
Exactly. It's the best of both worlds. You can still go to the supermarket, you can still go to KFC, get a 3-piece feed, and people aren't going, wait, are you the guy from Maroon 5? Because no one's seen you for 20 years. So
all I can think was that in 2004, there were a lot of Matchbox 20 fans who were confused they getting the feeling the party was over. They didn't know where to turn after the lead singer snagged his leather pants and fell into that wood chipper.
Yeah.
And they needed somewhere to turn, and Maroon 5 were there to welcome them, you know. And,
Absolutely.
you know, as their name suggests, they are at least 25% as good as Matchbox 20 were. I'll give them that.
Yeah, definitely. Look, I think you're right. They picked up some of the fans from that, and then I don't know what the fuck they've been doing recently, but most of the songs, all the songs I hear of theirs are terrible. But in 2011, Maroon 5 partnered with Schnapple and released a new flavour of beverage called Tea Will Be Loved.
Jesus Christ.
So this song's called, sorry, I'll scroll up, Tom, She Will Be Loved, and then they released a song called Tea Will Be Loved, which was a tea drink.
Yes.
Now, is that better or worse than Hanson's Hops? Remember when they reached that IPA and called it that?
I'll tell you one thing, it's no fucking Slice of Devon, that's for sure.
Certainly not.
You see, the genius part about Slice of Devon is that you actually slice Devon.
Yeah.
Whereas Tea Will Be Loved, you know, doesn't have anything to do with the song.
Yep.
And also Snapple don't really I mean, it's probably iced tea, but that's not what you think of when you think of Snapple. Hop, I'll give them a pass on Hop because it's obviously just a project that they just want to release their own homemade beer.
Yeah, look, it is good, no, for sure. Look, we've had a lot of bad news this week's podcast, mainly in the sense that every second song is some reject from Australian Idol pumping out some piano ballad garbage. But finally some good news, Tom. And that is that Maroon 5 have hit number 2 in Australia 5 times.
Oh, my God.
And they've had another 6 top 10 hits. So that's 11 songs that have been
almighty.
2 to 10
I couldn't
in the
name
charts.
another song. In fact, if you'd sung me this song and said, who's this by, I wouldn't have been able to tell you.
But this is their only song to ever reach number 1, so we'll never have to talk about them ever again. So that's fortunate.
That is a plus.
One of the other songs, Tom, can you remember that smash hit Moves Like Jagger?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that sucks shit. That's one of theirs as well. So, look, as I've mentioned, look, the rest of the band are absent in the music videos, which is good for them in the sense that they can still live, you know, a pretty regular life. But, look, credit where credit's due to these guys. Check out the music video to What Lovers Do. It's one of the wackest videos going, like one of the weirdest ones of the last few years for a pop song. It's Guns N' Roses' A Strange Level of Madness and must have been conceived on drugs. Adam Levine's on a jet ski for a good portion of the clip, and in one part he's walking on water, implying that yes, he is the new Jesus. So it's pretty good. Is Adam Levine, Tom, is Adam Levine the new Jesus?
I certainly think that he is of that opinion.
Yep.
And, you know, this sold 3 million copies in the US alone, so maybe someone else thinks he is too.
You heard it here first. Adam Levine of Maroon 5 is the new Jesus.
When he looks in the mirror, certainly. Well, speaking of videos, this video features actress and John Travolta's partner, Kelly Preston. Levine talked to Howard Stern about making out with her in the music video.
Sweet.
Right as we do it, I just kiss her. I didn't know what a movie kiss was. I wouldn't say I jammed my tongue down her throat, but I would say I gave her a real French kiss. I'll never forget it as long as I live. I wish I could see the real of it, he continued. I go in to kiss her and she's like, whoa, 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 cowboy. I was like, what did I do? She's like, you don't use the tongue. The video wound up becoming this classic video that everyone loves. I never got to speak to her about it. Life goes on, and obviously we never crossed paths again. Now, I'd never seen the video before, but if it's classic in much the same way that Pizza Hut defines classic, say when they release a new Hawaiian pizza with 4 pieces of ham on top instead of the usual 3, then they call the original one Classic Hawaiian.
Yeah.
Frankly, it made me feel sorry for Kelly Preston that she is reduced to doing this sort of thing. What do you think her career light so far has been, Ben? 2 episodes of the Friends spin-off Joey. Being sexually assaulted by the guy from Maroon 5 or Battlefield Earth.
Look, it's quite the show reel, isn't it, Tom? I think the Joey show probably because what it did was it took Friends, and then it built on that and sort of
Yes.
really took it into a new. It cut out the 5 characters that no one cared about, and it was just pure Joey with Kelly Preston in there.
That's
so
right.
That raises a few questions, Tom, doesn't it? First of all, I've never been in film or television or a TV commercial or anything of the sort, but I would imagine that if you are doing a screen kiss, you don't stick the tongue in because it's all for show.
Yes.
You don't.
Well, I mean, imagination's not really required because every single person on Earth since the age of about 15 has been aware that actors aren't actually deep-throating each other when they're kissing on screen.
Yeah,
Because everybody knows that. So he's obviously lying, which meant that he just had a childhood crush on Kelly Preston and wanted to make out with her. I can't entirely blame him for that, but I wouldn't have gone the full actionable sexual assault method myself. But,
I'm also glad that he described one of the blandest music videos of all time as a classic music video.
Yeah, I like the way he says it in that offhand way favoured by people with massive egos who like to feign self-deprecation as though, oh, well, what can you do? Everybody loves it. It's turned into this classic. With me making out with Kelly Preston. I'm so embarrassed. But that's what a lawyer would call begging the question, as in basing a statement on a bunch of false assumptions that nobody actually thinks are correct.
Yeah, good. Fucking hell. Look, 38 cents.
Too much.
47 million.
That is depressing. I think that might be more than Eminem, who's been our previous title holder.
That is insane.
Or maybe not our previous title, certainly the highest one we've had for a while.
Does this have any lyrical highlights? It must do.
Well, this was written by Adam Levine and James Valentine. Sadly, not the former sax player of Absent Friends and presenter of the afternoon show, but rather the guitarist of Maroon 5. Okay, beauty queen of only 18. She had some trouble with herself. He was always there to help her. She always belonged to someone else. Great. I drove for miles and miles and wound up at your door. I've had you so many times, but somehow I want more. I don't mind spending every day out on your corner in the pouring rain. Look for the girl with the broken smile. Ask her if she wants to stay a while. Now, this shouldn't be, but it is still somehow post-grunge core lyrics 101. In about 1996, most people had already figured out that any song prominently featuring the lyric "She Said" was written by some cocksack who thinks he's Ethan Hawke in Reality Bites. This song similarly gives the vague appearance of humility and emotional awareness whilst making sure that the woman is super hot in the first line, broken on some level and needs to be saved, that he's fucked her heaps of times, and we're supposed to like him because he spent a week standing at the end of her driveway in the rain staring into her house. I assume he's got white clown makeup on, holding a red balloon on a long string. While he's doing that, I mean, at least Nelly is honest about being a chauvinist creep. He's not pretending to be some fucking thoughtful guy. Like, oh man, I was so sick of this shit in the aughts. In the late 90s, I lived through all of those shitty bands, and seeing someone try to bring it back in 2004 to massive success is pretty depressing.
Yeah,
all right. I can think, again, is that aim low and hit thing. Like, we're going to be shit average AOR dad rock, and that's going to be it.
Yeah, look, the Car as Flowers, or whatever the fuck the previous incarnation of this band was called, they were playing like a 60s power pop style thing that sort of sounded
more interesting.
Yeah, it sounded... And
it would be difficult
not
to be more interesting.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I listened to the song and just went, oh, this is completely not what I expected it to be. It was, different to this. Was it amazing? No, but it sounded at least a little bit more interesting. But when that was a failure, it sounds like that they took a bit of time away, and then when they decided to keep going, it was just a sort of matter of, okay, what we wanted to do didn't work out. So let's just do something pretty bland across the board that maybe some kids might like, maybe some old people might like.
It's like the Black Eyed Peas type of thing.
Exactly right.
Yeah, we'll just aim for the lowest common denominator and see if that works.
So they did that, and this was one of those songs, Tom, that we don't have a name for it yet, where I believe they sort of said, we got together one afternoon and pumped it out in an hour. So this was another one of those. We just did it, and we knew it was going to be gold. Some may say classic, Tom, like the music video. So good.
I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world.
No,
it's
real
not. People playing instruments, and they wrote it themselves. So I'll give them that.
This is actually their best song, dare I say. that's faint praise, because some of the ones that come later, like moves like Jagger, I just want to fucking punch them in the face. But yeah.
Well, speaking of good songs, who's up next?
Guy Sebastian again.
Oh, Axel, Jesus Christ. Sorry. He's obsessed with reggae at the moment.
Oh, this is Out With My Baby. This is better than Angels Brought Me Here, but it's garbage. So I'm just saying what I said last time. This was co-written with Robin Thicke, and we haven't heard much from him since the rape anthem Blurred Lines, which unfortunately for Robin isn't just problematic lyric-wise, but musically it was deemed too similar to Marvin Gaye Got to Give It Up. So most of the profits from that song had to be paid to Marvin Gaye's estate. Now, Tom, are there any rape vibes on Out With My Baby?
Well, it definitely sounds like a Robin Thicke song, which is an improvement on sounding like a Guy Sebastian song. It's an improvement on his usual output in the sense that it's produced a bit more energetically. You could actually dance to this in an emergency.
Yeah.
And Guy does have a good voice for this sort of thing, this sort of, disco funk jam sort of thing. Like he can do a little bit of falsetto stuff. It doesn't actually require him to have much range or anything. So it sort of works pretty well. But lyrically, I'm just up, I'm ready, let's go from one hot spot to another. I know anything she wants, I got 4. Hope she doesn't want a rowie, because it sounds like she might get 4 of them.
Yeah.
Sounds like at best he's a drug dealer, and at worst he's planning on giving her the old Bill Cosby, especially when you consider this was written by Robin Thicke.
Yeah.
Pre Blurred Lines Robin Thicke, but still. I'm going to make you shake it with you shake till 6 in the morning, baby, possibly in the emergency room on a stretcher while they pump her stomach.
No doubt.
I hope not. I'm sure Guy Sebastian, he's a Christian, he wouldn't have been up. He probably just thought, he meant like virgin daiquiris or something like that. Look, that's as much as I've got for that song. There's nothing else to say. It looks like they're slowly spending slightly more on each song, but, with mixed results.
Indeed. Up next, Delta, Out of the Blue. She's back.
She is back after having 17 songs in the number 1 last year.
She's back with album number 2, Tom, titled Mistaken Identity. Now, is that better than Innocent Eyes as a title? They're both pretty fucking bland and shit.
Yeah, neither of them apply to anything either.
Yep.
I mean, you can see what they're going for, but they don't make any sense,
Oh, look, this is more of the same for Delta. I guess it's a bit of the if it ain't broke, don't fix it type territory.
Not.
Another piano ballad, still pretty boring. Couldn't really remember this at all when I heard it. Does this even sound familiar? Don't know. The music video, though, she's at the beach. She's hanging at the beach, going for a bit of a swim down at the beach. Then she walks through the bush. So
in her long flowy dress,
as you do that. Yeah, she does. So
she had bare feet, probably.
When you leave the beach in Australia, you're always near the bush. I should point that out. You're always next to the bush. So she does that. Fortunately for Delta, she stumbles across a piano. Because she's a piano player, which is great. So she walking through the bush, there's a piano, but there's no stool. So she has to embark on some of that standing up erotic piano shtick, where you're sort of like trying to dance sexually while playing the piano going, ooh. So, but yeah, look, the piano sucks as an instrument. Is it any better if you're standing up to play the piano? Does that make it more visually impressive if someone's standing and go like Jerry Lee Lewis, Great Balls of Fire style, like kicks the stool out and like.
Hey, look, if she could get her foot up on the keyboard, I'd consider it. But generally, I agree with you. I think the piano should be played as God intended it. Sitting down on an empty stage by a short man with a paisley headband under a single blue spotlight during the half-hour-long run-out for the album version of November Rain.
Absolutely.
I think if you can't do that, then don't even bother, really, I would say.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. So, I mean, Delta, she's hardly burning it up on the 88s. She's not sort of up there just like, wheel. It's just some boring shit.
There's no Elton John action. No. She's not dressed in a giant duck costume or something. It's all pretty rote.
Do you think, should Delta have got on the cocaine at this stage after the success of her first album and churned out more sort of crocodile rock style action? Because I think that
that would have been the only thing that would get me to start listening to her.
Just Delta.
Well, according to Australian comedian Sam Simmons, there is a special colds where celebrities go that only celebrities know about called Special Colds. and Delta got banned from going there because she kept clogging up the toilet
Oh.
with her long neck sized turds that she does.
Really?
So,
Oh, damn.
if I found that out about Delta, I'd be more impressed than most of the stuff I've read about her.
You
in
heard
New
it
Idea.
here first. Wowzers, there you go.
I'd like to go to Special Coles.
Ah, wouldn't we all?
I think at Special Coles, he also mentioned that. Who's the guy from the morning show that's always on TV? Fucking guy.
Koshi?
Koshi, yeah. I think he said that Koshi ate sushi off his dick.
Ah, wow. So many revelations.
Yeah, it was
on
really
this show
interesting.
today.
He did a whole song about Special Coles. It was a much better song than this song. But
Yeah,
sure.
everything's better than this. Lyrical highlights
Yes,
must be.
well, out of the blue, and there I met you, showed me a life I can't see without you, and there's just no way that I can fight these emotions. Your energy running through me, nobody carried through me like you. Out of the blue, can this be true? Now, compare that to Missy Higgins. I mean, how many fucking songs need to be written about the moment of falling in love and nothing else? Do you really think you're going to write one that anyone is going to remember? It's like writing a new Christmas song. People keep doing it, but there's one every decade that actually hangs around, and all the rest are just like pissing into a river. Or you could write about something that actually happened to you that actually means something to you, maybe, but who knows?
Yeah, those lyrics sound like they were penned as she was singing them there. That sort of not memorable. It's just
or on a bus on the way to the studio in a tween's notebook.
Exactly. It's some of the
hadn't done
most
her
generic
homework.
shit I've ever heard in my life. Terrible. So 54 cents for that. 800,000 for Delta, as we learnt last week. Yeah, bullshit. Okay, up next, Eminem, Just Lose It.
Ah, yes. I did remember this one, coming back to it.
Now, this is another wacky one from Eminem.
It is. I forgot how many of them there were.
Yep.
I kind of felt like it was after his... What did he have last year? The big one.
Was it Without Me?
Yes. After that, in my mind, that was the end of his wackiness, but clearly I was wrong, because...
Well, to me, this feels like the spiritual sequel to Without Me, Tom. Like, it's sort of wacky song.
Yes.
Sort of a jokey comedy one. The video itself has a very similar vibe to that. He dresses up as Michael Jackson for a lot of this.
He does.
And purportedly, Michael Jackson wasn't too happy when he saw the video. He was sort of like... because Michael sets his hair on fire in one bit, which Michael Jackson did in real life. Sorry, Eminem,
by accident.
as MJ does that. There's the light up footpath. There's a few lyrics that touch on some of Michael's legal troubles at the time or alleged discretion. So, yeah, it was quite interesting.
This sort of shit, I suspect, is why he got sick of being funny, I reckon. The video just looks like an unimaginative record company douche has seen Without Me and gone, do that again, but more. And instead of feeling sort of inventive and jackassy like Without Me did when they did it as an original idea, it feels calculated and overly polished.
Yep.
Also, it must have been a giant fucking pain in the ass because he has to dress up and impersonate Ed Sullivan, Pee Wee Herman, Bad Santa, MC Hammer, Billie Jean era Michael Jackson, and Girly Show era Madonna, and none of those dudes was exactly edgy references in 2004. Even the Michael Jackson setting his hair on fire thing happened about 10 years ago. He also has to get set on fire, run around in public naked, and get covered in spew by his own impersonators. Yeah. So, look, and the song similarly, feels
like he's repeating himself a little bit.
It feels like a bit of a retread. Not only that, but he seems kind of tired of it vocally.
Yep.
Like, I forgot about that, but like the production is also really sort of lacking on this one. There's barely anything there. It's like they set a click track and walked out of the studio for a blunt or something. I mean, this is meant to make people lose it on the dance floor. Like, it would need a major overhaul just to sound good coming out of a jukebox at this point. I do remember hearing it in clubs a bit, but it was definitely a pumped up mix of this. It wasn't this radio mix. Even his voice sounds thin, and this is rap, for fuck's sake. If you can't make the human voice sound good, what are you doing behind a desk? I mean, the producers are listed as Dr. Dre and his protege, Mike Elizondo. So I'm going to assume that Dre passed it on to Mike, who passed it on to the intern and went off to his dentist appointment for this one. And I mean, this was the first single off his album Encore as well. Like, what the hell, dudes? I don't know.
This is about peak Eminem, though, from a mainstream perspective.
Oh,
isn't it?
yes.
I think
yes. And I think
he's-
that might be the clue there.
Yep. So, I mean, obviously he's still one of the biggest names in hip-hop today, but from a mainstream chart success, it sort of falls off a bit of a cliff
This
here. And
kind of dorky
this is the
mainstream.
beginning of the end, and I think part of it is, as you said, this just seems like a retread of his previous work. So this is sort of the stuff that he did best. So if he's tired of this because it is just doing that, he has to do something
Exactly,
else.
yeah.
And the direction he goes in is more of these sort of super serious, emotional, like teaming up and also doing duets with like Rihanna and shit.
Yeah, or the world never gets sick of rappers just talking about how good they are and how much money they've got. You know, that never seems to run out of steam. So
yeah, but this is sort of this era as well. This is when backpack rap was getting really popular. So like your Kanye's,
true.
like
You're competing against people who've got YouTube and shit now as well. They don't need a giant record company contract to get out there.
So I think Kanye's College Dropout came out this year, and that was sort of a bit of a beginning of a shift towards that sort of people at the time. Kanye wasn't rapping about like, look how great I am. It was sort of more like real life shit. Obviously, as time has gone on, all we've heard from Kanye is how great he is for the last 10 years. But people sort of forget that at the start he wasn't really necessarily doing that.
He was young and hungry,
young
like
and hungry,
Eminem had been 10 years earlier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe there was a bit of a shift where Kanye was coming out and becoming more popular. Maybe Eminem's shtick was starting, but it's just. That's how music works, doesn't it? Someone new comes along, and then after a few years, it's like, oh, it's much of the same. Here's some other new dudes, and especially in hip hop, there's new dudes coming along all the time that have different. And you know, Dre, as you said, Dr. Dre is still producing this, so this is like Dre production for his almost his entire career, whereas other people doing different production stuff. And so I don't know whether, not saying that Kanye started the demise of Eminem, but I'm saying that there's a
it's just an endless
bigger
cycle. Yeah, totally.
There's a dude
again.
There's a dude starting out now that in a couple of years after this was like one of the biggest names.
In fact, it's probably going to happen more and more quickly, exponentially as time goes on. But that seems to be how everything else
exactly.
does.
Whoever's the edgiest, coolest dude, 5 years later, no one really cares about them so much.
But I mean, speaking of edgy, you still can't fault Eminem for lyrics like, and it's cool if you let one go. No one's going to know who'd hear it. Give a little poot poot, it's okay. Oops, my CD just skipped and everyone just heard you let one rip. Now, I mean, that's not funny.
No.
But again, it's not exactly edgy, topical, cultural satire, is it? That's just 6 lines about someone farting on the dance floor. Yeah. I mean, even Weird Al would tell him, like, can you work in Avril Lavigne or something, like some reference like that? And also, additionally, as I mentioned before, along that vein, this song contains the cry for help lines, I don't have any rhymes to go here, blah, 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 blah. And also, I'm feeling a little stressed out from work. Much like a lot of his very recent work today, it just sounds like everyone involved needs to stop watching MTV and take a fucking holiday for a bit. Just relax, maybe come back in a few years when you've thought of some new stuff and actually feel like you want to do it. Yeah, I mean, he's still got crazy skills. He hasn't slowed down in terms of rapping. It's just like, you know, this and like his newer stuff. You just want him to sort of, you know, take some money, you know, relax, chill out.
Yeah, exactly. Look,
anyway.
This isn't one of his best, but also it's far from his worst.
It's kind of entertaining. And as I said, I do remember it getting played. People were dancing to this, or a better mix of it anyway.
Yep. Absolutely, 62 cents, 48 mil. So Eminem just beats out Maroon 5, who had 47 mil. So there you go. Eminem still top tier for Spotify listens. But it's close between him and Maroon 5. I never thought I'd say that, but there you go. Up next, Gwen Stefani. What you waiting for, Tom? 2 weeks. Which raises the question, what are you waiting for?
Sure. Well, you know, yes, I don't know what I'm waiting for. Waiting to go solo, I guess.
Well, absolutely, yeah. This is the debut solo single for Gwen. Straight to number 1, obviously off the back of her work in No Doubt. People were like, oh, it's Gwen. She's going solo. What's she going to do? She's going to do a song called What You Waiting For. And it's off the album Love Angel Music Baby. Is that like a Blood Sugar Sex Magic type album name?
Sounds like it. It's got periods in between them, but I mean,
Yep.
that's about all the improvements they've made. Makes
Now-
about as much sense.
Not only has Gwen gone solo on this one, Tom, this one was co-written by Linda Perry from
Yes.
Four Non-Blondes. And it
Edgy.
shows that she's improving her songwriting skills because that Pink song she did a few weeks ago was pretty fucking terrible.
Yeah.
But this one, I think, is significantly better.
Yes,
Well,
it is a bit.
Well, better. Not maybe significantly is not good, but the other one was terrible. So.
Yeah, in terms of what she got out of the artist that she's working with, I reckon. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, edgy grunge rocker Linda Perry, she's back with her 37th bubblegum pop hit. Starting to wonder if maybe she's trying to get revenge on the listening public for not appreciating the Four Non-Blondes.
Yeah.
You know, except it keeps going wrong and producing massive hits, springtime for Hitler style. No, but anyway, apparently due to Linda's schedule, they only had 5 days in the studio to create this entire song from nothing. Like,
Yeah,
they had
okay.
nothing to start with. I mean, maybe Gwen could have taken the pressure off by being actually prepared and having some lyrical melody ideas ready.
Yeah.
But to be fair, she said that that was, in fact, what the idea for the song came from, e.g. just shoving herself through writer's block into a new album. Like talking to herself about, how much writing she actually did, I don't know, between the two of them, but the only people credited are her and Linda. Also, the song musically is hella basic. It just sounds like two notes in 4/4 going back and forth for 3 minutes.
Yep.
But her vocals do some interesting things. Like, more interesting than in No Doubt, anyway.
Yeah.
So, not that that's a huge ask, but
Don't speak.
But what else?
Look, so as you said, it's good that she got through the writer's block and was able to go on and produce some songs because this album, Tom, provides us with all kinds of nuggets of wisdom. For example, did you know that Harajuku girls have got that wicked style? Were you aware of that?
Look, man, I love Tokyo. You lived there for several years, but it does seem to affect certain people in a certain way. E.g., they go home and dress like an anime body pillow for the next half a decade.
Yeah.
Did you meet anyone like that when you lived there? Any
No, I
Westerners who'd taken the Japan pill a bit hard?
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Probably more of them in Melbourne. I see them walking around the street sometimes with furry cat ears or, wearing 17 frilly Alice in Wonderland dresses on top of each other. Yep.
Yeah, look, Tom, I lived in Harajuku for several
Oh,
years.
really?
I did, and it's hard to know whether those Harajuku girls do have that
Do they
wicked
have that
style.
wicked style?
Oh, I wouldn't know.
Hasn't that turned into like the hipster? Isn't that like the hipster suburb of
Oh,
Tokyo now?
probably, yeah. It was at the time anyway.
Yeah.
But there was less of that gothic Lolita action that I
okay.
think what Gwen is sort of in. I
That's
think
definitely
it was
what this album and
it was
this video
well
took from it.
beyond that. It was
okay.
it was beyond it by that stage. Yeah, a little bit.
I'm sure Tokyo
Weird.
street fashion moves in hyper speed compared to even like the hipster stuff over here.
Yeah, exactly right. So look, 2 weeks, 12 mil for Gwen. She's got a lot of hits. 62 cents for that.
Actually, a bit less. I think she's been a bit, a bit slow lately.
Yeah, what's the
Lyrically,
yeah.
Well, as per what I was saying before, like an echo pedal, you're repeating yourself. You know it all by heart. Why are you standing in one place? Born to blossom, bloomed to perish. Your moment will run out because of your sex chromosome? ? I know it's so messed up how our society all thinks life is short. You're capable. Look at your watch now. You're still a super hot female. You got your $1 million contract, and they're waiting for your hot track. 5 days, Ben. That's what 5 days gets you. And I'm sorry, but that last bit sounds like a stage mom trying to fire up her daughter for some ethically dubious underage beauty pageant.
Yeah.
With the slight problem that Gwen was 35 at the time and maybe should have been able to motivate herself like a grown-up. Like, she's older than both of us. And she sounds like she needs Linda Perry to sort of G her up in the studio to get her actually right with something. But anyway.
5 days. I'm glad they
Like
didn't
you
have
say-
3.
Like you say, this isn't boring.
No,
like,
no,
the
no,
video is also sort of tacky as hell, but it's not dull. And that Harajuku thing was kind of new at the time in America, at least. It was the first time I'd seen an American, you know.
But I think Gwen is sort of leans into that tacky shit a bit. Like, it has to be intentional because a lot of the fashion choices are just fucking sketch.
Yeah,
sort of
and I was looking at the design for the CD and the cover of the CD and the albums and stuff too. That design style was in fashion at the time. Graphic design as well. It was called maximalism, and that was that sort of deliberately tacky thing where you'd have got rainbow colours all over everything. And then like a gold gothic font on top of it, and then just all this crazy shit. So it wasn't, it was the style of the time.
Well, it lives on today, I think. In
some areas, but it was like briefly the dominant style was just every magazine looked like that for 3 years.
Yeah. Now vaporwave kids are probably like trying to, they're throwing in Windows 95 motifs probably in there as well.
We're old. I think vaporwave's gone, unfortunately. I quite liked vaporwave. It reminded me of the 90s again. I was briefly cool again.
Anyway, up next, fuck me, Joel Turner and the modern day poets, These Kids.
Oh, Jesus, Axel. All right, sorry. Now, where was Joel Turner from? Yeah.
Even the fucking beatbox kid from Australian Idol is releasing singles and going straight to number one. Yeah, look. He didn't. He was on Australian Idol just doing beatboxing.
Yes, credit to Joel. Unlike every fucking other Idol chode we've had all year on this list, he actually wrote his own song.
Yeah, that's true.
And not only that, but it's a song about the plight of homeless street kids.
It is, yeah.
So.
Look, you're right. Credit where I did
credit
shit
to
on
Joel
this a bit,
and the modern day poets.
He did pen this himself, and it is, you're right, a worthy, drawing attention to a topic that maybe doesn't get a lot of attention, especially in hip hop. They're all rapping about their cars and stuff. So look, Joel didn't progress far in the Australian Idol show. Didn't make it to the end, but look. Knowing talent when he sees it, he was signed and managed by Idol judge Mark Holden, together with rappers The Modern Day Poets, MDP, as they're known on the streets, Tom, consisting of Turner, his older brother Tim Turner, who's known as Double T, and their cousin Chris Turner, who you probably know as C4.
Oh, I thought he was CT. No, that's all right.
Now, look, forget Justin Timberlake, Tom. There's only one JT as far as I'm concerned, and that's Joel Turner. Now, JT grew up in a relatively poor household and showed some ability as a young age, to play the drums, etc. But his family couldn't afford a drum kit, so he started beatboxing. And was originally inspired by the vocal techniques of Billy Ocean on his track Love Zone.
Just when I think there's something Billy Ocean can't do, I'm proved wrong.
Yeah, Billy Ocean is definitely one
I haven't heard Love Zone, but it sounds vaporwave as fuck, and I'm looking it up as soon as I get home.
Yeah, look, Billy Ocean has always been known to be at the very vanguard sort of beatboxing, so we all know how Billy Ocean has beatboxed
Billy
his
Ocean's
way
name
through,
is vaporwave.
Yeah.
He couldn't be more vaporwave.
Absolutely, So that's fantastic. Look, he was the victor, Joel, that's JT, not Billy Ocean, victor at the Beatbox World Championship in 2005 and retained the title till 2009.
Wow.
So to me, this demonstrates that the best art's created under adverse conditions, whether it's, working class bands, sort of industrial cities, Black Sabbath in Birmingham, grunge bands in Seattle, early hip-hop out of Brooklyn or Compton. Music was a way out of an otherwise not great life for all these working class people. And it's the same with JT. If he'd grown up in a wealthy family, his parents would have just bought him that drum kit and he would never have bothered with beatboxing and wouldn't have been the world champion for 4 years. And look, who's to say that beatboxing won't ultimately replace live drums in all forms of music, Tom?
Look, I'm with you. And also I think if that Beatbox Battle World Championship is actually World Championship and not World Championship in the American sense, e.g. the country that it's in, and he genuinely was the champ for 5 years, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is.
There are some pretty talented people. What was that, like Raziel and stuff? He had a single not that, around this time, and he was,
Well, Joel Turner, I think he invented the beatboxing cowbell. So he was an innovator.
That's
pushing
quite
the boundaries. So,
frankly, they could have highlighted. I don't know if Mark Holden's to blame for this, but they could have highlighted his beatboxing a lot better in this fucking song.
Yeah,
it's too produced. You can barely tell that he's doing it. If you couldn't see him doing it in the video, and there's no he doesn't even get a solo moment or anything.
That's true.
It needs beatboxing brought to the fore, some more raps, and way less emphasis on his singing.
I think
which, I mean, he's not terrible, but clearly beatboxing is his real gift.
That is his gift. Completely right. So look, unfortunately for Joel, I guess a bit of a sad story as well. His father died of a heroin overdose when he was a teenager.
Wow, that's
Joel.
rough.
Yeah, exactly. And his dad, so he was disappointed that his dad didn't get to see him, grow up to be a beatboxer because I don't know a lot about Joel Turner's dad, but I know that he left the family before Joel was born and briefly reconciled with the family when he was younger. He was a musician, played guitar in a band, and I think Joel sort of feels like some of his music talent came through his father, who was also a musician.
Sure.
So unfortunately died of that heroin overdose, as I said. But I feel like, having his estranged son beatbox at his funeral is probably what he would have wanted. So, I just assume... You imagine you're at the funeral. We're gathered here today to mourn the passing, not to mourn the passing, but to celebrate the life of Steve Turner. He was a father, a husband, a friend to many. He spent his life mastering his craft, the guitar, played all across Australia, bringing joy to many. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, rest in peace. His son Joel would now like to say a few words. Do you think that's how it would have gone, something like that?
I mean, frankly, I'm wiping away a tear now. It's such a touching moment, but, I would like to imagine that the priest then drops a few rhymes.
Exactly.
Well, I'm the priest, and I'm here to say we're honouring Joel Turner's dad in a thoughtful way.
Yeah, I think
that
so.
Kind of thing.
I think
Writes itself.
Joel would have beatboxed, and yeah, you're right, the priest laying down some raps, I think, is probably... Look, Tom, if I die of a heroin overdose, can you make sure that my child beatboxes at my funeral? It's certainly what I would want.
I would love to see Archer beatboxing, hopefully not at anyone's funeral.
No, look, he's only 6. I don't think he can 5. I don't think he can do it. But are there any dads out that wouldn't want their son to beatbox at their funeral? I don't know.
Look, dads, get your kids started on beatboxing young. It combines two things that kids love: making noise and spitting.
Yep.
Which, I mean, how can you go wrong?
Absolutely.
Look, lyrically, it's
all
quite a somber
beatboxing.
thing.
Yeah.
So many songs, so many times. The world's had to hear so many rhymes about how life is for strugglers, minority groups, kids with single mothers, young homies turn hustlers, killing for money. It's kind of funny how the crime rate is so high in suburbs where family ties are low and suicide's on the rise. Oh, why so many die? Because in their eyes, the mistakes they made can't be erased. The only way out is to take their life.
It's depressing.
It's pretty grim. This isn't even... He hasn't even got to the street kids yet.
Yeah.
It's always a bit easy to mock people from the suburbs who talk about growing up like they were in the projects of LA or something. But clearly Joel has led a much, much tougher life than most people in Australia.
Yeah.
He's growing up very poor, and his dad died of heroin overdose when he was a teenager. Couldn't afford musical instruments, but yeah, I mean, and plus he was on Australian Idol and had to hang around with Mark Holden for any length of time.
Jesus.
He might not be the most eloquent man alive, but at least he's trying to say something about the struggle of youth on the streets. He doesn't have a lot of solutions for those struggles, but neither do I, and neither does Scott Morrison. So,
No, that's true.
He's doing as much for the cause, in fact, probably more, as the Liberal Party or the Labor Party, frankly. So, good on him, I say.
Yeah, look, Joel Turner for Prime Minister, I think that goes without saying. I'm jumping on the Joel Turner bandwagon, and I'd like to see the modern day poets
That'd be the cabinet.
The cabinet,
Yep.
yeah, exactly. Sort of
Double T
treasurer.
and C4.
For sure.
He'd be the Speaker of the House,
Absolutely.
and don't tell me there wouldn't be some fucking beatboxing on the floor.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic. Imagine that, just sort of, the budget gets beatboxed just by Joel, just sort of going...
I would love to see, when they get escorted out for being too rowdy, I'd just love to see 4 homies just come and solemnly beatbox someone out, just form a cordon and just beatbox them off. Everyone else has to just sit there silently until they've gone outside the doors.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
I think it would be good. So, yeah, I'm putting my vote towards Joel Turner this year.
Sure.
So if he's not running, he should. That's what I say to Joel. If you're listening, definitely get involved in politics because those homeless kids, they're homeless adults now and they need your help as much as they did back then. So,
That's true.
for sure.
The ones who are still alive, anyway.
Yep. 1 week, 1,000 on Spotify. Not a lot. $2 though. Go pick up a copy. If you see this around for $2, go pick up a copy.
I'm glad he's beating
You won't be
Cosmo, 'cause it's
disappointed.
definitely better than that.
I've got a copy of this on CD single.
Do you really?
I do. Yeah. What are the B-sides, Tom? Just hold on. Let me have a quick look.
Sure.
So the CD. It says.
I got you.
Yeah, I know. You gave me this. Yeah. It actually says in rather large font, Joel Turner. Then the beatbox boy from Australian Idol
Just
is
in
written
case
on there
you've forgotten.
in bigger font than that includes 3 bonus beatbox tracks on the back, Tom. This is a good value CD single because you get 7 songs. You get These Kids Radio Edit, These Kids Scan Mix, These Kids Mel Mix, These Kids Instrumental. So you can do your own rapping over the top. Then bonus beatbox tracks, JT Freestyle, Beethoven Beats, and bass guitar. So there you go.
Somehow I'm imagining that those 3 are better than this song.
Yeah, no
And
doubt.
more fun to listen to.
So-
It's good that they've gone with that broken typewriter font that certainly wasn't old by this point.
No.
Anyway.
So I'm going to be listening to that later tonight, and the whole album if I can track it down online somewhere. So there you go.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Speaking of deep political impact, what have we got
Up
next?
next is Casey Donovan, Listen With Your Heart.
Wow.
I was hoping you got to do the reggae thing.
I was going to interrupt myself for a change because it started to get annoying.
I was hoping that this was a cover of the Roxette song Listen To Your Heart.
If only.
But I was wrong. So look, if you don't know, we're straight into season 2 of Australian Idol now with Casey Donovan. Casey won season 2 and immediately released this piece of shit. Fortunately, she was only able to get 1 album out before those at Idol headquarters cut her loose. And she's released singles sporadically over the years, but this was her only number 1 song.
Surprise. Yes, Listen With Your Heart, as you said, it's neither Listen To Your Heart by Roxette, nor is it Listen With Your Heart from Pocahontas, which was a much more popular song overseas. But Listen With Your Heart, the original, is a song written by Diane Warren, the Hit Factory.
Yeah.
And originally recorded by CeCe Winans for her second album, Everlasting Love, in 1998. Diane Warren's magic touch failed her in this instance because that song didn't do anything on the charts. I will say personally, I think Casey's version is just as good as that one, and I actually prefer the arrangement here. This sounds, it's not amazing, but it still sounds quite contemporary for something that's nearly, 20 years old now, whereas the original is 1998 as fuck. You keep expecting Boyz II Men to burst in and drag CeCe off to their jacuzzi at any minute in the background. It's all fucking glissando harp and shit and stuff like that.
Nice.
But yeah, what happened to Casey after this number 1? After the success?
Well, Tom, she did some work on television. Obviously she was on
Outside of
television
Idol,
for
yep.
outside of Idol. So look, I was looking at her credits, and it seems that she played herself in a Coles supermarket ad, which is usually a stepping stone on the way to the Academy Awards. So I think she's definitely done
prices
that.
are down.
Yeah, for sure. Now, look, I just want to bring this up real quick, Tom. I'm not sure whether I'm onto something here or not, but is Australian Idol actually some sort of sex cult? The contestants are lured into the sex cult via a promise of fame and riches from their singing ability, but then it all gets cult in there and the contestants have to bang the judges. Is this some sort of possibility? The reason I ask is because, apart from the fact that this is exactly what it seems like, in 2005, the facade was almost revealed in the sense that November, Donovan was announced the winner of Idol over favourite Anthony Calea. Now, Australian Idol sponsors Telstra, in a half-page national ran advertisement, included, so it was basically Telstra ran an ad saying
In the
paper, congratulations to Casey Donovan for winning Idol.
Yeah.
Here's a link to her website, but it was a link to American pornographic actor Casey Donovan. It was the wrong Casey Donovan.
I see.
So Telstra just said, here's this link, click on it, porn site. So Telstra apologised for the error, But was it an error? Or do you think this is some sort of weird, nefarious...
Well, I mean, to be fair to Telstra, it's a mistake that anyone could make, Ben.
Yep.
I mean, they do have a lot in common, the two. One died in 1987, the other was born in 1988.
You're thinking the soul passed from one to the other.
Well, one wrote a health advice column in Stallion magazine. The other runs a health and lifestyle podcast called The Space. One turned to prostitution and shortly before his death from AIDS starred visibly unwell and heavily intoxicated in the fisting movie Fucked Up. The other one was in We Will Rock You. So, there's more similarities than you might think. Perhaps they just confused them, There was just some mix-up. But so is the idea that they did that to sabotage her final... No, but she'd already won.
She'd already won. It was an accident.
In as much as I knew, I thought Anthony Kalia won. But, I wasn't watching, obviously, so, there you go.
Look, Tom, with fame comes attention. Some wanted, some unwanted. Everyone wants to be your friend. It's sometimes not for the right reasons.
Sure.
Casey found out about this the hard way when she was catfished for 6 years.
Really?
Yes. Now, Casey Donovan, you type Casey Donovan into Google and the autocomplete top response is catfish.
Not fucked up.
No, not fucked up. This is a story as old as time itself, Tom. It's Shakespearean in a sense. Casey was phoned up by a fan named Campbell. Mm-hmm. They chatted for hours on the phone, and over several conversations, they struck up a friendship, and then eventually Casey fell in love with Campbell. Mm-hmm. Every time they'd arranged to meet, Campbell couldn't make it. His car'd be broken. His sister was pregnant. He'd have to fly somewhere to look after someone. Mm-hmm. But, he said he'd be there the next time. And when Campbell couldn't make it, which was every time, Campbell would tell Casey that his friend Olga was free to catch up. So Casey and Olga would hang out often, and they eventually became friends. One day Campbell was talking to Casey and said, look, I have to go to Pakistan to free my nephew from the clutches of the Taliban, but...
No red flags there, no alarm bells went off.
Olga's free to catch up tomorrow, so you know what, I think you and Olga should hook up.
Okay.
So the conversation, as far as I know, sort of went something along the lines of,
Okay.
So Campbell ringing up and saying, "Hey Casey, yeah, Campbell here. Yeah, look, sorry, can't make it tomorrow. I've got to fly to Pakistan. My bro's in the Taliban. I've got to get him out of there. So look, but Olga's free to catch up again. Look, sorry, we'll catch up next weekend. I was just thinking, when you catch up with Olga tomorrow, maybe you should let her finger slay you. What? But Campbell, we're in a committed relationship, and wouldn't that be treating? No, it wouldn't be cheating at all. I actually think it would bring us so much closer together if you just eat Olga out. Yeah, honestly, the best thing for our relationship right now is if you go and buy the biggest strap-on dildo you can and just fuck the living shit out of Olga. Yeah. Cool, mate. Yeah, is that okay? Yeah, I guess that sounds good. All right, cool. Yeah. Sorry, my flight to Karachi's leaving in 5 minutes. See you soon. So that's purportedly what happened. And then Olga and Casey started a sexual relationship off the back of Campbell suggesting...
So that plan worked. That was successful.
It did.
So catfishers out there, take notes, because apparently this shit works. So.
Because, Tom, plot twist, we gave it away at the start, but Campbell didn't exist. He wasn't a real person. It was Olga on the phone the whole time pretending to be Campbell. And then, look, I know the story is a little bit confusing, not for our audience because, they're very sophisticated, but if this is your first time listening, maybe you're a Joe Rogan fan, ditched his podcast due to the recent controversy and need something to listen, so you've jumped over onto our podcast. There's a lot of fast-paced Casey Donovan stories, so let's explain it again. Campbell wasn't real. Olga was pretending to be Campbell, so when Casey thought she was talking on the phone to Campbell and he was telling Casey to eat out Olga, it was actually Olga herself saying to Casey Donovan, you should eat out Olga.
I see.
That's how it worked. What a wicked web we weave. Eventually, Olga was found out and the whole thing fell apart.
I mean, after 6 years, after having a fully intimate... emotional sexual relationship with this person, at some level in your brain, aren't you just thinking, maybe this is the person? And even if then it turns out that they weren't the person, wouldn't you just go, well, in for a penny, in for a penny.
It raises a lot of questions. One, how long is too long to not meet the
Yes.
person. So okay,
6 years.
yeah. So imagine you live in Melbourne. You meet someone online that lives in Europe. I think the longer the distance, the longer the time is a fair assessment.
Sure,
Yeah, you might be
yes.
like, I'm going to fly to the Netherlands to meet this person. So maybe you just want to get to know them over several months because it is a bit of a commitment to go over there. Maybe interstate, maybe a little bit shorter. What if they live in the same fucking city? After 4 years, you're saying, Campbell, when are we going to meet? Oh, I can't. I've got to do the dry cleaning or some shit.
Yes.
I mean, surely at that stage, you're like, I've never met this person in
Yes.
real life. It's been 5 years.
Also, human sexuality is definitely a spectrum, but like, wouldn't you also, while you're having sex with one person
Yeah.
and spending all your time with them, a person of the same gender as you, but you're still talking to this other person on the
But
phone.
Casey gave it the all clear. Casey's like,
yes.
I want you to just...
But
yeah.
wouldn't you also be thinking, well, I'm starting to have feelings for this other person. Also, perhaps I'm a lesbian as well.
Yeah, it's very
It doesn't
confusing.
have to be black or white, but
Sexuality is very fluid, Tom. So
wouldn't you be thinking, well, I've got maybe more in common with this person that I'm also banging and regularly seeing in real life than I am from this voice on the phone that... Now I start to think of it, it has always sounded a bit like they're talking through a sock in a wardrobe and putting on a I'm a butch man voice.
well, that's what I was thinking. What sort of accent was Campbell using to sort of convince Casey that it was a different
we
person?
don't live in the Scream universe where you can hold like a little tape recorder up to your face and you suddenly sound like Matthew Lillard.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that. Or Matthew Lillard's mum or fucking Courtney Cox.
Would you? I just think you might get a bit suspicious if after 3 years you've not met this person. They're just like going, why don't you finger slam that chick you hang out with all the time? Wouldn't you be like, why is he telling me to do this? What if they are the same person? I don't really know.
I mean, the human capacity for delusion is pretty fucking
true.
impressive.
That's
but
true.
Still,
Yeah.
and also when all the things fall away, why not just think? And also, I don't know, is it a bit romantic that someone's concocted an entire external persona to get you into a relationship which you were happily in?
Yeah.
I don't know. Look, hey,
Look,
what do I
Olga,
know?
she's playing the long game on that one. A lot of fucking...
So what happened? What was they just broke up at the end?
She found out, I guess she just said Campbell's not real. I've been Campbell all along, and she's like,
Jeez, it's a pity that
let's break
show Catfish wasn't around at the time because they would have totally flown to Australia for that shit.
Oh,
Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
absolutely. So, look, on the scale of sexual misconduct, where does that fall, do you think? It's lower than Epstein, obviously.
Yeah.
But higher than a football player grabbing someone's ass on a dance floor. So,
Yes.
if you pretend to be somebody to coerce them into sleeping with you, is that like a low-level rape, or is that like, I don't know where...
The current thinking seems to be that it is, but then you have to get into the semantics of what constitutes, like, lying to someone to get them into bed. Like, is telling someone you earn more money than you do, does that constitute getting people into bed under false precedences? If you tell them you've got a 12-inch dick and then they bone you in the dark and it turns out to be 3 inches long, does that count? What if you're planning on breaking up with someone but you don't tell them until the next day because you fancy one last go in the sack, does that count? But I would say that completely conducting an entire false identity to do it, that's certainly dodgy. I don't know, man. Geez, I don't know.
The reason I asked Tom is because
this is, as Robin Thicke pointed out, this is all very blurry, and I take my sexual ethics cues from Robin Thicke.
Yeah, exactly. Look, the reason I asked Tom is because I think personally I'm living through a very similar dilemma because I told my wife that I was one of the modern day poets. So I think she married me off the basis that she was like, you're part of the beatbox kid from Australian Idol's posse, and I said, yes, I am. Didn't think it would ever come back to haunt me, but if Joel Turner and the Modern Day Poets ever reunite for a tour, she might start asking why I'm not on that tour, and that's when this whole house of cards may fall down. So I'm not quite sure what that's going to
I have heard several stories over the years of people who have done a prank on someone that they knew by that dumb thing. Australians are particularly fond of this kind of prank where you convince someone for no real reason that you were a person in a TV commercial or that you were a member of someone or that you were the parkour guy in that ad for, Rebel Sports or something like that, and go to this ridiculous lengths to convince someone just so that you can snicker about somebody every time that happens and that person thinks that you're that person. But then it ends up playing out for years and years and years. But none of that involves sexual favours being exchanged. That's where this gets a bit questionable. But I would say convincing people, going to great lengths to convince people that you slept with Rusty Gates, the guy from the IBM repair shop commercials. That's great, but then insisting that you have sex with someone in order to maintain that fiction, I think that's a bit much, really.
Yeah, look, anyway...
Definitely lower than Epstein, though, for sure.
Definitely lower than Epstein. So, look, I don't know what Olga's up to these days, but...
God, I bet she's on the internet, I'll tell you what.
I hope she's not testing this out on other people, but...
Look,
I don't know.
Lyrically, Diane Warren busts out her usual combination of melodic mastery and lyrical laziness.
Yep.
And when this world has got your mind confused, feels like your faith has just run out on you, you can find that faith inside your soul. The strength you need lies deep in you. That's why you've got to listen to your heart, etc. We all lose our way sometimes. We all lose our faith sometimes. But if you just believe and just be strong, trust your heart won't do you wrong.
Yeah.
Now, has your heart ever done you wrong, Ben? Because mine has done me wrong quite often. My brain's not super helpful either, if I'm honest.
Yep.
Pretty much the only organs currently pulling their weight are my liver and lungs, mainly for not getting cancer after I smoked and drank heavily for 25 years. But my heart, apart from pumping blood around my body, it's not really much of a repository of wisdom.
Yeah, and look, I think Casey's problem is that she was listening with her heart, and I'm not a medical professional.
Ironically,
I'm not a doctor.
this exactly proves
correct. If she was listening,
her gut.
Well, if she was listening with her ears, she may have heard that Campbell and Olga sounded exactly the same.
Yes.
But she was putting the phone up against her chest. She was listening with her heart and couldn't hear the fucking word he was saying, apart from the bit where he said, "You should fucking eat out Olga," and she was like, "Oh, I'll do that." So
she trusted her gut, and as Nick Hornby once said, her gut had shit for brains.
Yeah, exactly. So look, Casey, $1.50 for this. Why not? 7,000 listeners on Spotify. I don't know. She probably released some more songs, but none that I'm aware of.
I mean, she's doing okay by the standards of, she's just actually...
She had 6 years of catfish.
What's this now? What is it?
Anthony Kalia, The Prayer. Last song of the year, thank fuck.
So he would have, been discovered, working in clubs and nightclubs, wouldn't he? Someone saw that he had talent and gave him a chance.
He was the runner-up in the Australian Idol contest that Casey Donovan just released. Now, look, I'm not certain that Anthony wasn't the guy behind the Casey Donovan catfish scandal. So how do we know that he wasn't Olga
pulling the strings
/ Campbell? We don't know. He was seeking vengeance after the unexpected Australian Idol loss. Played the long game and got the ultimate revenge.
I see.
Absolutely. But look, this Anthony Kalia song, The Prayer, it's a really, really, really old sort of traditional Italian song recorded all the way back in 1998 for the animated film Quest for Camelot.
So is it a traditional song?
No, it's from 1998. It sounds. He tries to make it sound all like grandiose and traditional.
It was recorded by Celine Dion and Andrea Bocelli.
Yep.
So it had an actual Italian with actual opera chops in it.
Yep.
So it doesn't sound a million miles away from something.
Yep, so he got signed after runner-up on Australian
I've never
Idol.
even heard of that.
Yeah, it sounds like pretty shit. So, yeah, like all these early Idol contestants, he's still releasing music that I don't think anyone gives two fucks about. Generally, me, I couldn't care fucking less about any of this stuff.
No.
But he did release one album that I think warrants further investigation, Tom.
What's that?
In 2017, he released an album called Aria No. 1 Hits in Symphony.
Okay.
where he covers only the very finest songs to reach #1 on the ARIA charts with the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, stuff
So,
we've talked about.
Very close to our hearts in this podcast.
Although more newer stuff, I'm guessing. But yeah.
Yeah, so he did Bryan Adams, the theme from Robin
Sounds
Hood,
about
Prince
right.
of Thieves. George Michael, Jesus to a Child, we know that one.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Marx, Right Here Waiting for You. Roxette, Listen to Your Heart. All good songs, but for my mind, the song selection was a little bit poor.
Yeah.
A couple that I mentioned there are okay, but, I would have really liked to have heard Last Night in Bangkok. I think Snow Informer, Bomb Funk MC. I really think Eiffel 65 Blue in the hands of the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra would have been a different beast. I think it probably would have really elevated that song to a
I
new
would have
level.
liked to hear them do Australiana by Ostentatious. as
Absolutely
well. Some
right.
of the 12th Man.
Yeah, I mean, what would you rather hear? Anthony Kalia and the Melbourne Symphony Orchestra doing I Swear by All For One, which he did do, or Here's Johnny by Hocus Pocus?
Definitely Here's Johnny.
Yep.
100%. Look, they really leaned into the pseudo-operatic classiness of the whole production here, certainly in the music video. They've got the orchestra, it's all this guy playing in the studio, that type of thing. On the other hand, it's quite a nice song, and he's got a nice tenor voice.
Yep.
And seeing him do it at the grand final, like at the Opera House in front of a huge crowd, he's hitting the notes and stuff. It's not auto-tune, he's there, he's doing it. And also, he's a handsome young dude. I can see how he'd come runner-up,
Yep.
There's definitely a touch of the young George Michael to him, I reckon. And he's obviously a big fan because shortly after his 2013 obligatory Christmas album, he released a 17-track live CD DVD called Ladies and Gentlemen, The Songs of George Michael, which was recorded live in one big setting in the Crown at the, what's it called? The Palms, I think, in the big main room. So he was obviously a big George Michael fan, and as
Do you know what the track list is on that? Did he
I
do
don't,
Too
but I mean
Funky?
17 tracks, so it's he's not dipping his toe in the waters there.
He's
It's
gone
like
full
it's
action.
it's a pity he didn't hang around. If he themed it after George Michael's life or something, he'd probably do a fucking 3 years show at His Majesty's Theatre doing a jukebox musical about that shit
Absolutely right.
with all the star power of an ex-idol runner-up, And he's a fucking handsome young dude, he's got skills.
Definitely. He's been dining out on the prayer for 15 years, so I think he just breaks it out ad nauseum.
And he didn't write it, nor did he write any of George Michael's work, but he can sing, is what I'm saying.
Yep, absolutely right. That's good. 5 weeks for this, 66,000 listeners on Spotify, $1. This will set you back. Lyrical highlights, are there anything at all?
I was just going to say, additionally, that he also, if you're wondering what he's up to now, in 2016, he was revealed as a contestant on Season 2 of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here! Australia. He placed 4th in the series behind the ultimate winner, Brendan Favola.
Oh, good.
He also described In Time in the Jungle as one of the best experiences of my life and hoped that it brought more awareness to his chosen charity, Lifeline. I think it probably brought more awareness to his ability to eat raw goat testicles while covered in bees. But then again, Lifeline is a suicide hotline, and that is certainly the first thing that springs to mind when seeing commercials for the TV show I'm a Celebrity, ellipses, Get Me Out of Here, ! Australia. So, lyrically, as the name suggests, this is just an oldish 1998 brackets song, which is basically a prayer for peace and God's grace.
Yep.
It does sound quite old. If you told me this was a hymn from 1842, I wouldn't be surprised.
I think that's what they try and market it as.
Yeah,
Not a 1998 Quest for Camelot song.
Half the lyrics of this version are Italian, but I won't translate them because they're just as boring as the English ones, although it's certainly the classiest song this year for whatever that's worth, I'd say, in the sense that an opera singer wrote half of it and he sings operatically-ish. Although, trust me, I used to know an opera singer, and do not ask them about pop stars doing operatic shit because they are not impressed with that stuff.
Can't imagine they are.
Don't ask him about Susan Boyle or you'll get a punch in the face. Even as a joke, they hate that shit.
What about beatboxers? They like that.
I don't know any beatboxers
No.
since I took a bullet in the knee at the South Ulverston projects. I've left that life behind me, Ben.
What do real beatboxers think about Australian Idol beatboxers? They're like, they've
Well,
sold
he
it out.
won the World Championships.
That's true.
You
That's
know,
true.
so who knows?
For sure. Well, that's it for the year. Fucking hell, there
God,
are
that was
so
a long
many
one.
Idol things. It better be less next week, I tell you what. Otherwise, you know, I don't know if I can do this much longer.
Oh, no, that was a particularly long one. That was a whole year of
Absolutely.
1 week long hits.
So best song of the year that peaked at number 2 is definitely Milkshake by Khalees.
Yeah, wow, the video for that was quite impressive.
To the yard. And worst song of the year that hit the top 10 was So Beautiful by Pete Murray.
Oh, God, yeah, that was fucking terrible, wasn't
Yep.
it? Was it worse than some of these Idol covers, though? I suppose not counting them.
I'm not counting the ones that hit number 1, but yeah, there's probably worse ones than that. But that's
forgot
Pete
Pete Murray,
out. Pete Murray
fucking
sprung
hell.
out as being terrible. So yeah. Anyway, we'll be back with 2005 next week, and I can tell you that there are some Idol people in there.
Oh, of course.
But from what I can see,
There's less.
just having a real little look, less than this week,
Oh, thank
which is
Christ
a
for that.
positive. So it's good. All right, thank you.
See ya.